Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Aurora. I am so happy to be here and share with you on May 24th, 2022. This is Lesson 12 for Level 1. And the topic today returns to, it is almost perennial at this point, energetic anatomy in the sun. I did do a little bit of a strange way that I recorded this because I was working on Lesson 11, and I already did part 1 of Lesson 11 with you guys as a class. And then I realized that I had done part of it. Basically, I did some things that should have come later, earlier. Now I'm kind of backtracking, doing this, but I wanted to do a lot of this in order to reemphasize things and make sure that I went over everything appropriately. So this is, I was doing for the past couple of weeks, all about sun gazing and eating the sun. And today we're also going to do, I'm grabbing my sculpture, extreme close up, grabbing my sculpture, flying rainbow lasagna in with the sun. So I have both of these there because they're real practices. So this is very practical, practicable information and experience. And these are things that I do all the time. And my practice has grown and expanded since I recorded those videos 10 years ago, sitting in my backyard in Woodstock. So that's what, if you access the teachable lessons, then you see kind of like 2 old videos of me. I'm wearing like a blue sweat jacket. It's a beautiful spring day and a really bright blue sky and really big like pink tree in the background. And it was a perfect time to do sun gazing and a perfect time to do this flying rainbow lasagna with the sun. Last week, or when I last spoke about sun gazing, you know, I alluded to, but did not speak unduly about some of the limitations that we're experiencing with the sun right now. Because 10 years ago, Chiqui's over here, it was a different world. 10 years ago, it was a different world in terms of chemtrails and the things that have been physically blockading us from the sun. The sun also had a different, undisturbed, undiluted quality to it. The consciousness and emanations themselves, itself, the timelines and probabilities and possibilities and the ascension energies that were coming off of the sun were much less diluted and disturbed. Aurora, it's not fair. I don't like what's going on now. I completely agree with you. Everyone who went into that mode, like, it is not fair. It is not fair. It is not right. I like to give my verbal energy, especially in these classroom moments, to be able to be speaking about the things that we wish to expand and encourage, and not speaking so much and giving so much verbal energy and acknowledgement to that which we wish to go into entropy and which we wish to be resolved. So I am not in any way in denial. I am in full acknowledgement. And as I do this presentation again, I'm going to augment it so that it is appropriate to this time, because back then, like, imagine like free-flowing ice cream. Like, ice cream just came from the ice cream man in the sky all day long, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. And now it takes a little bit more of a concerted effort to really connect with that. But it is absolutely possible. And it is inevitable, because all of that ice cream from the sky is light, it's pure consciousness, and it's what fuels our natural ascension process, which is a consciousness unfoldment, which is a graduation from one level of existence into another level of existence. And I'll also make this very clear. When you graduate from eating physical food, it's not like, dun, 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 I'm Superman, I'm invulnerable, I need nothing from everyone, like F everything, like I am self-sufficient. It is actually not like that. You actually are infinitely even more aware of how interconnected you are in terms of pure light and pure consciousness with all light everywhere, with all light that is in existence. The love tone that you feed upon is this engagement of light flowing into light and then light flowing on its journey. So it is a perfect balanced structure that you travel within and harmonize, that is not the same as being self feeding self in a contextless void. So that's really, really important, because hyper self-reliance is a response to trauma. That is when you've been hurt or experienced pain or suffering or diminishment or lack of anything, resources or love or whatever you needed in the past, then sometimes people, humans, creatures, organisms, and consciousness have the response of saying, oh yeah, F everything, F all of you. I'm going to only rely on me. This is different than the I'm looking out for me. This is more of a self-protection mechanism where people should be loved through this, that they recognize that they're like, I can only rely on myself and I'm just going to take care of me and I'm just going to rely on everything that comes from inside of me. Hyper self-reliance is a response to trauma. So it really requires healing to recognize that there is an enormous network of coherent light, that's that ascended mastery, beings who have already turned into beings of pure light and who are already reciprocally reliant upon the light network. That's where I'm coming from as Aurora the Collective. We travel upon, I travel upon, one travels upon, language fails, the network of pure light consciousness that is a neurology in the sky of all of these amazing stars, stellar presences that are part of a larger consciousness. And the larger consciousness is self, and you are all a part of it too. So all that I speak of, please know internally, please internalize the truth that you are all a part of it as well. Pardon me, and you know that I always say this, drinking my electrolytes, this is not why. And Cheeky looks like she's going back to bed because it's a little brisk. It's like 65 degrees out here. It's California cold. And she's like, oh, I'm so cold. I might need to go back to bed. Okay. Eating light, our food sources, sun gazing, and the sun as an abstract energy consciousness. So this might feel or seem familiar because I've actually been speaking about this for several weeks, re-emphasizing, but I have more to share today. This is all about your Christ chakra, your indigo brow chakra, the intersection of this indigo brow chakra and this, your violet chakra, and the energetic anatomy. When I've spoken about this, like when I first recorded these lessons, I called it a marriage, even before I really knew and recognized anthropomorphically how fraught that word is. Like that word has baggage. And a lot of people are married or were married or are now divorced or looked at their parents' marriage. It's not necessarily a positive word. And I was using it in the idealistic sense of an ideal partnership between male and female, a marriage, a complementary aspect of biology and energy that comes together and that ends up generating through that union new life. That's what I mean when I talk about marriage, not a lot of the other stuff that now I am more aware of on the human level is what people define in terms of marriage, in terms of power structure, relationship dynamics. I want to say ownership because there's some stuff about jealousy, ownership, and other stuff. And then there's biblical stuff about like men owning women, and there's property, chattel, all of those types of things. None of that is what I had in mind. So just clear that away, like with the Windex from your lens of perception, and recognize that I'm speaking about things where I come from and my earthly experience in a much more pure or untrammeled, direct experience. And this also speaks to my vision and my viewpoint. So I'll describe more of this formally as I go through my notes. The paintings that you see behind me, the energy and ideas that I have come from the sun, stars, God, divine, stellar network. And also, you know, that is my perspective as Aurora, the consciousness that is at that level. And when I look through my inner eye here, I am also in conjunction with my crown chakra here. I perceive energy as these abstract patterns here. This is different than one simply looks through this level here. There's nothing wrong with that, but it gives a limited anthropomorphic, anthropocentric view. Anthropomorphic means human-formed. Anthropocentric means centered on humans. So now I'm going to start going into this. To begin, the intersection of the violet chakra with the indigo chakra, it's in the center of the head. It is a very special place in our anatomy. And those who were here earlier while I was, hold on, so I'm going to share screen. While I was doing my preparation, I said, I will get totally prepared. And now I don't have to squint and scroll with everyone while you are watching. And let me admit someone to the class. There we go. So, okay, good. Here are two important images. The one on the left is from a scratch board that I've done specifically for this type of teaching. And the one on the right is a detail from the painting that I have that's called Ascension 2012. And I did that one where you have many of these human figures and they're in a big array or positive matrix, crystalline structure of all of these rainbow energy centers coming together. And hello and welcome, Julia, because I saw that you just tuned in. So this depiction has its own levels of accuracy and inaccuracy, because I'm telling you, it's a challenge for me as a visionary artist. I see what is truthful inside with my mind's eye, with my inner eye that we're talking about today. And then I always intend to be able to make these drawings and paintings as accurate as possible. Because it's going to be on the wall. It's going to be there for a while. Like it's there. People are going to scrutinize it. B, because that is really my job, my mission, my purpose, my role, my function, all of those synonyms, my reason for being and why I do this. I do it for my own gratification and also for educational, enlightening, inspiring purposes to others. So I'm always trying to make these pictures as accurate as I can, recognizing, first of all, it's a two-dimensional image of something three-dimensional. And beautiful, Charlie. Thank you. We will chat about that. That sounds great. We will, try to make these as accurate as possible while recognizing that there are limitations in representing something spherical or three-dimensional in a limited 2D flat painting or drawing. Then also all of these are moving. All of these chakra systems are made out of whirling and swirling energy patterns. So big challenges as an artist to be able to show something truthfully just by using these simple tools. And also, P.S., I've been making this for a long time. So I've been doing these paintings and drawings for the 20 years that I've been here as Aurora. And initially, I was not only not computer literate, I didn't have access to computers, and computer animation software was much more rudimentary. So I was literally here. I'm like, okay, like imagine that you have these very advanced ideas, and you can share them with others by like drawing with a stick in the sand, which is like how ancient Greek philosophers used to share their thoughts and feelings. So yes, no offense, no condescension, but just working with limited tools, how can you share advanced concepts? So these are the analogy of scratchings in the sand that have an allusion or parallel allegory to something much more grand and complex. Thank you for that. In these two pictures, these two depictions, here I'm wiggling my cursor on the one over the right in the area that's inside of what is the human skull, the intersection of this indigo or dark blue, bright blue chakra, to contrast with the throat, which is much more of a turquoise or greenish blue. And this matters because you're going here towards green, which is the heart. So up here, you're in the purest, bluest blue, would be called cyan, C-Y-A-N, in terms of the print process. I would say it's like sky blue, while the turquoise is much more of an ocean blue. And with violet, and violet is this hourglass shape that you see here on the right, or apple core shape. Violet is a very true, bright purple, although some people might perceive it as a deep, dark amethyst. Like I'll hold up my amethyst crystal. Probably can't see it as easily in this light, which is a bit yellow, but amethyst, which is like a very, very deep, strong purple. It is also a violet that is a very, very bright violet. Oh, I don't have it here. Where's my tube of violet paint that I was showing online yesterday? Because it is actually going up towards ultraviolet. It's going up towards that spectrum that is even greater than what we can perceive with our physical eyes. Now I'm wiggling my cursor over the one that's on the left, that is the black background. This is an etching, and it's even more detailed and a bit more accurate when it shows how this apparatus that is the higher faculties rests upon the foundation or plateau that is the heart or unconditional love. Love tone, the love tone of giving and sharing is where all of this comes from. So back to my face. When I talk about, partnership and marriage, ideally, that's it. I'm an idealist. Just everyone from now on, when you hear me talk about these things, just recognize that I'm an idealist, not a realist. Okay. I'm sure everybody is like laughing behind their hand, like, okay. Because when I talk about marriage and partnership, I'm talking about like the ideal sense of equal giving and sharing, idealized love, idealized romantic love, idealized physical partnership. And there is an idealized energetic partnership between the brow, indigo, Christ, and the crown, violet, connector to God. And that these are these two things that work together in conjunction. So the first one is understanding and recognizing that the indigo, bright blue chakra, it is made of nothing more than time or consciousness whirling and swirling amidst each other. It creates a giant lens in front of your face, like a face plate. It gets this energy from your heart. So you kind of rev up in the journey. What happens is you begin with the lower chakras, creating physicality, structure, emotional stability, intellectual framework, and then, the left tone, that's meditation. I'm moving along through time. And when you're able to do that, then you are able to stabilize everything, get enough gas in your car, or literally currency. So love tone is the currency of the cosmos. In the same way that I'm pointing to my electric light over here. My electric light has electric currents that run through it that generate light. That is a smaller fractal allegory for the larger world where we have energy that flows through our chakra systems, and it is the love tone currency of the cosmos. It is currency in the sense not of commodification, because remember, when you do something for love, you do not do it merely for money or for commodification, but it is currency in the sense of how people here use dollars to represent energy that is exchanged. And that's the purity of understanding dollars. Of course, I have come to understand dollars in their more fraught, emotionally weighed down with baggage type of consideration. But I would invite everyone to remove the baggage, throw off your ballast about what you think dollars or money are, and recognize it as a representative of energy. And buying and spending is a love-based energy exchange. This is, again, idealized speaking here, what we're moving into, in a sense of a new type of reality and a new type of interaction here in this physical plane. And our physical plane is becoming semi-physical or less physical or more malleable in its physicality. And I'll get into that too, because all of this is part of sun gazing and being in conjunction with the sun and doing flying rainbow lasagna with the sun. Partnership between these two aspects of anatomy being in balance and getting enough of the currency to make these aspects of your anatomy go. So actually all of these, because your throat and communication is part of the insight structure and is also part of the violet structure. And if you refer to my drawing lesson, I'll do more drawing lessons and drawing homeworks for everyone, so don't worry. If you invested in templates, it wasn't just for one lesson. I will continue to go through it again. And Hans, I know that I need to look at your homework and check it out, so thank you for understanding. I've been overwhelmed with details. The drawing lesson that I did, where I was showing how these different energy aspects rest upon one another and their significances. Like if I go back to this drawing over here, the way that, here, if I get this annotation finally, if you see where the edge of one chakra and the edge of a vortex fit together, and how that is, it means that yellow and orange relate, they have an interrelationship. And like, for example, same thing up here, the way that your lower vortex of violet fits directly within your throat chakra, and that all of these rest upon the heart chakra. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that your chakras are a holistic anatomy. Although our medical science of this time and place, which is rather limited or benighted, has a tendency to dissect something in an effort to understand, comprehend, and analyze it, it is essential for you as owner-operator of your own body to recognize that you are part of a holistic whole, and that, first of all, you have a coherent light body, which is what I was showing you in these pictures here, and that your coherent light body does not just stop, like your body physicality stops at the boundaries of your epidermis. Like, this is the end of me, and then here begins the atmosphere and stuff that is beyond me, Aurora. Your light body is a boundary that is appropriate to have definitional boundaries of self, and also yourself is connected to, as an individual, a much larger coherent field. That's what this painting is right over here. The much larger coherent field of time, and you're not separate from time. Time is absolutely inside of you, flowing within you in exactly the same way that actually, although my shoulders stop here and then the atmosphere begins here, the atmosphere actually comes inside of me. And the atmosphere is actually in here in my lungs. And the atmosphere is actually inside of my blood flow, flowing all throughout my bones and organs. And the atmosphere is actually coming out of my mouth and actually coming out of other apertures of my body at other times. We'll laugh about that. You are connected to everything. And so these are definitions of convenience that are about who is me, how much is me, and how do I define the me-ness of me. But please understand that from the larger perspectives, you're connected to everything and also responsible to everything. And also everything else is responsible to you. So that is big. It is reciprocal. Idealized understanding of relationships here. I give to the atmosphere and the atmosphere gives to me. I'm responsible to the atmosphere, planetary atmosphere, and the atmosphere is responsible to me. So this is big. It is be going beyond the exploitation, objectification model. Idealized representation of love currency. So when you get to this tone of love and you are absorbing and accreting currency of love, it is not just about having a fat bank account. It is about gaining wisdom and maturity and the capacity to activate these higher centers. So this is through meditation and mindfulness and frictionless thought being, as opposed to the constantly talking blah, blah mind down here that talks about like, I got to get here. I got this to-do list. I'm going to have to do this at 12:15. I got this, this, and this to do, and all the other things that one spends talking about in one's mind that are an impediment to the natural flow of time flowing through you. That all of those talking, chatteringness type of thoughts are something that closes down the flow of time a little bit. Instead of being seamlessly integrated as a time being into the larger ocean of time, there's this talkingness, which is not natural to humans, which is absolutely synthetic and synthetically implanted, although it has been adopted by humans very widely. And it's known as language. And I'm using the flapping of my moving mouth parts. Terence McKenna calls it your small mouth sounds to be able to communicate to you, because there is this inhibition down here that has been preventing all of the energy from flowing to up here on everyone, because this is where you speak without words. So this is the area of your insight. Trisha's clapping. She's like, yes, yes. And also, she's like, yes, I'm way beyond having to talk with words because she telepaths with me all the time. And also, yes, so I'm about also consent. If you would like to be on my telepathic email list, please signal your consent now. It's like opt in. Please opt in now with your inner being. And I'm very, very happy to include you in my telepathic email blasts, because some of what I do is just emanating, like just thinking with my mind. And some of what I do, Hans is like, yes, I'm opting in. Some of what I do is thinking with my mind, just as an aspect of existence, which you're allowed to do, like going along, being. And some of what I do is, oh, I have a perception, I have an insight, I have a thought, even a thought that might come from a larger presence. And then, kapow, I percolate that outward. Blast is a bit forceful, even though sometimes I do blast, but they call it an email blast. Beautiful, dance-worthy emanation that goes out to everyone. That was what I just learned, and I now send it out and share it with you. And these are everything from how to overcome a disease, like, oh, I just learned how to overcome that disease. I'll just send that out on my telepathic network to make it available to all of you. And then if you're like, you know something, I really needed that, I'm going to take that and internalize it. Or so basically, I'm big into problem solving, other solutions, reality restructuring, and also positivity and uplift, which all of this is mirrored in my music. You know, I make music every day and then I send it out to people who voluntarily connect with me, who are like, yes, I like your music, I want to listen to and connect with you. And that is what I'm doing, sending out the feelings of the day, solutions to problems, new energetic capacities and combinations of ideas and events and things that can help you in your life, because I'm like, ah, this helped me in my life, let me send this out to you. This is also my role here, being Aurora, in being a flying rainbow lasagna conduit to energy that would not otherwise be able to enter into this realm. So I go out to the grocery store, get ideas and energy of pure light, bring the groceries back home. And then I'm like, hey, like, you need some avocados? I'll give them to you. Because you guys know at this point, like, avocados are one of my favorite food and I eat it all the time. They're very inexpensive here in California. Trish says decoding, yeah. So the natural way for us to communicate is through telepathy. And I also say I am an empath. I call this telepathy. So telepathy is a pure sharing and a direct sharing of thought, consciousness forms. And the empath empathy part is not just about like, oh, like I feel bad if you feel bad. It is more than that. It really is about a sense of feeling the feelings of the collective, and also adding to the feelings of the collective Just as music has a groove, people have individual feelings. When you are an empath and you're around other people, you can tell if someone is angry or agitated. You're like, oh, like that person's feeling angry and agitated. You can tell I'm kind of like, my face is frozen, I'm shrinking away from them. And then you can also tell like when people are grooving in their life, you're like, that person is grooving. Sometimes I walk around on the sidewalk here and some people I'm like, I do not want to walk next to or near this person. They got problems, no offense. People have problems, but you don't always have to be in their energy field, especially if you feel it. And especially if you're not ordained to do something about it. And like, if you're a natural healer and someone comes to you with problems, it's like, oh, good. Like I'm ordained to actually do something about this. But if it's just some person on the sidewalk and there's no consent, it's kind of like, okay, like I'm aware of problems and I don't have the permission to do something about it. But when I walk behind other people, they're like, oh yeah, like I am feeling good in this energy field. And also that is also part of basic aspects of attraction, like aligning with that which is in alignment with you. And all of this is perfectly acceptable. And I'm describing to you literally cosmic law. A lot of what I described to you is cosmic law. Currency is needed in order to be able to activate this and this aspect of your anatomy. In some ways, it is about your own personal self-cultivation, your wisdom, your spiritual growth. And that the way that it is portrayed on earth is accurate, because I've spoken about this mostly 10 years ago when I first started teaching, that from a lot of human history, humans were defined merely as red. You're a meat suit. You can hear the cigar chomping kid. Kid, you're a meat suit, kid. You're made out of matter. You have orange emotions. These are mammalian emotions, things that almost everyone can agree with consensually. We've all experienced anger, sadness, fear, hatred, but also, romantic love, affection, joy. These are the feelings that a lot of you feel like when you're a toddler, like, I lost my ice cream. No, I got ice cream. I'm elated. I lost my ice cream. Now I'm sad and crying. Those are all human mammalian emotions. Or I love you. I want to hug you. Or I hate you. I'm going to throw applesauce in your face. These are like, the emotions that you feel in a very pure sense when you're just in the early stages of human development. Everybody's got a body, everybody feels emotions, and then the yellow, I call it the thin smear of cream cheese on top, the thin smear of intellectual cognitive ability that is known as human thought. That was the definition of human for many millennia around here, just this little slice of the frequency pie. And then maybe if you meditated on the mountaintop, lived in an ashram, did all sorts of special breathing exercises, only ate nothing but rice and bananas and, purify yourself every day, then you would get to the level of unconditional love tone. And that is how it was looked at. Like this, which is actually your base camp, was looked at as the pinnacle. No offense, but that is not meant to be the pinnacle of human development. That is meant to be, like I said, base camp or the fulcrum, the center of your being. And when you master something as the center of your being, it doesn't mean that you're like, okay, I don't do that anymore. Like I used to be aiming for green, but now I don't do green anymore. You master green, and then you keep on mastering green throughout the rest of your essays or attempts to scale the mountain and get all the way up to the top. So yes, just like as a child, you master your balance. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And then you don't say like, oh, well, now that I'm adult, I don't do balance anymore. Like I just fall over all the time. Like, no, of course not. You have mastered the capacity to mitigate your left foot and your right foot and be in balance. And then you do that even while you're doing something like typing on a computer, which are considered higher functions. All right. So unconditional love is the prerequisite for being able to matriculate to the university of the universe. Again, universe or cosmos, cosmic university. This is a stable platform of energy upon which all of these other aspects of being rest. When you get to this level of love tone, you're grooving along. And part of it is stilling your mind, and part of it is also not being dragged down by aspects of the past or grasping forward, anticipating that which is about to happen. So I'm much less about being dragged down by the past and much more about the anticipation. Sometimes it's not positive anticipation. Sometimes it's like, I have to do the laundry. I have to go buy some coconut milk. I have to go and do a thing because I'm a hyper responsible person. And these are all the things that we're told, like, got to have that list of to-do things and the stuff that you're going to be doing in the day, as opposed to being fully centered in the moment when you know that you will unfold all of those chores and all those things will happen. Aaron is like, I have to pay taxes. Yay, I know. I feel that too. So taxes is a good example of telepathy, because around April 15th, which in the United States is tax day, I feel that generalized agitation as everyone is starting to go through their receipts, their shoe boxes, adding up, because it used to be everyone saves their receipts and shoe boxes, adding up their deductions, wondering about how they're going to pay their taxes, or anticipating gleefully that there will be some return on the taxes. Like if you overpaid during the year, then you will get a return and there will be some abundance flowing to you. I feel all of those things that generally are not connected to me in terms of my own personal taxes and my own personal small business finances. So yes, I'm aware of all of those things that no one really looks forward in anticipation, like, oh, good, like I get to do my taxes. This is going to be awesome. It is not the ice cream of life, but it is certainly an interesting thing to learn about. But then at a certain point, you're like, all right, I've done that, I've mastered that, and then it is not so interesting anymore. The way that you run your apparatus of your chakras and your energy being, the way that it is like a small business. So here's what you do when you have a small business. You bootstrap yourself on up. You're like, okay, I don't have a lot to start with. I'm just going to start with this. Like I got an apple tree. I'm going to sell apples. And then at a certain point, you're making applesauce, but you're doing everything by hand. And at a certain point, you have sold enough applesauce to graduate to one of those things that like cores and peels the apple, like a little machine that does it. And now you're like, wow, I just increased my productivity ×5. And now I can make even more applesauce and I can sell even more applesauce. All right. This is like a very silly but concrete example. When you raise your energy up to this level of unconditional love, you begin to earn currency in the world of pure love. And this is a generative force field, not just merely a commodification model. And you're then able to more easily access and fill up and activate, moving in a whirling and swirling pattern, this area of your body and this area of your body. So usually what happens is you can afford is a better word. You can afford the indigo blue chakra first. That your energy from your love heart, remember all of these chakras are holistic. You are one entirety. You are not just one. So when you do chakra healing, it's not like, well, I healed this part. They are massive problems everywhere else, but this part is great. Just like when you really look at your body, you're like, well, I healed my elbow. Like everything else is a mess, but the elbow is great. Like I'm very facetious. I hope you can tell in my delivery on all of this. We look at the body, physicality, structure as totality, because of course, if you have like a horrible disease or infection in your elbow, it goes everywhere, right? And same thing with your chakras. If you have a destabilization at some level of your chakras, it destabilizes all of them. And that means that you have energy siphoning off. Like when you have your heat on in the wintertime and your window is open or whatever, the energy is just flowing out the window. You're throwing that heat out the window. And maybe it's the sensible voice of rationalism, maybe mom or dad says, what are you trying to heat the whole neighborhood? Close that window. This is what happens when the chakras are destabilized. The energy that you are trying to accrete and accumulate within the definition of self and your own energy boundaries is siphoning off into either the environment, the atmosphere, or possibly into the gleefully awaiting mouth of another being that is like, oh, goody, like I'll just be happy to eat that energy that you're, letting bleed off from your atmosphere. So create a healthy boundary of accumulating energy within yourself, just like you have your own blood supply. You don't want your blood to be bleeding out into the world. It is made for you. You have your own circulatory system of light, is what I shall say. You have your own circulatory system and your own responsibility to self and establishing self as a self-generative model. When you do that, then you are able to begin to accumulate the necessary money or be able to afford in currency the activation of this chakra and this chakra. This is why it has been looked at in our world as such a huge attainment, to be able to attain this level of experience and direct perception. Although I, of course, am an idealist speaking in idealities, saying this is for everybody. You are a full spectrum human. Hello, welcome to the class. This is lessons for full spectrum humans, and you are a full spectrum human. You're not like, I'm going to joke everyone, you're not a half-assed human. Like this would be like, being a partial slice of who you are. You're a full spectrum human. You're using your whole ass. This is just a joke. Okay. Thank you for allowing me that lightheartedness. This is an attainment of being at this level of being. And it is done through self-awareness, spiritual cultivation, being in conjunction with higher divine thought, and through effective energy practices. That's like you, quote unquote, you spend your currency wisely. So just as in the small business world, you gain some amount of profitability by accreting energy, and then you're able to reinvest in yourself by getting equipment. You gain energy by learning to be at the level of unconditional love and the heart, being in acceptance and non-judgment, and being in alignment and conjunction with frictionless timelines. And then you reinvest in yourself in order to create this apparatus. I'm finally getting to the meat and potatoes here, the nourishment of your indigo chakra and your violet chakra. And when most people get started in terms of activating these energy centers, usually it's activating the indigo brow chakra first at the level of anthropomorphic, anthropocentric seeing, and then secondarily the crown up here, which is at the level of abstraction. There, as I was walking my dog at the beach today, I was considering what I would talk about. And I recognized that it was necessary to say, there is nothing wrong with being a beginner or in early stages of development, or a child or a young person, to be new. Almost everyone that I know here is in the early stages of awakening in terms of cultivating your coherent light body and becoming an ascending master and gaining access to these higher faculties. Just as in human early childhood development, not everybody develops at the same rate and in the same way. Some people learn to read when they are 2 years old. Some people learn to read when they are 5 or 6. There is nothing better or worse. There are just different approaches and stages to that level of neurological development. So too is it with the development of your higher consciousness. So in terms of being able to see through here, it first is seeing on the anthropomorphic level. What that means is seeing the human-shaped truthfulness. There we go, human-shaped truthfulness. So both of these depictions have in common that there are abstract areas of what is being shown that look like circles and vortices. Then there is this outline here and this outline here. That is the human shape. And that the human shape is a part of the truthfulness, but not the entire picture. It is an aspect, it's a slice of reality, but not the entirety of reality. So my cautionary statement for today is, when you are raising your energy up and you're getting to this level of seeing, when you have matriculated to the cosmic university and you are just gaining your library card of consciousness, it is essential to use it wisely. It is essential not to jump to conclusions prematurely, as your eyes and ears and comprehension are still in a state of development, as you're still coming online, and as you are still journeying towards the crown, which is this level of pure abstraction. That is what I paint. So there are two different levels of seeing and perception that are going on here. I'm diverging from my notes, but I'll get back to my notes. One is at the anthropocentric level, which looks like when you see things that are shaped like one face and 2 arms and 2 legs. You might also see places and experiences that look like a 3rd dimensional reality. 3rd dimensional reality is not the same in my lexicon or verbiage here as the way that most people are talking about 3D and 5D and all these things now, which just is very confusing and somewhat agitating, somewhat distressing towards me. It is loose language and it doesn't really serve the exactitude of what I'm trying to get across. When I say a 3rd dimensional reality, I do not just mean a mundane, boring existence that I'm wishing for Calgon to take me away from. Calgon being the bubble bath that is transportive into another world, not an alien space species. 3D-dimensional reality means a box My room is a box. I'm living inside of a box. You can see it has 1 point perspective. Like, look at the way that this wall is going off into the distance. Look at the way the top portion of this painting panel is shaped. For those who didn't catch my lesson about the Renaissance and art history and perspective being a radical, magical, supernatural rewiring of your brain, 1 point perspective makes it look like, so here on my screen, my arms are going to look like they're coming towards you. Wow. Things that are in the foreground come towards you. Things that are in the background recede. And then it looks like they're going backwards to infinity. Like train tracks on, if you paint a painting of two train tracks that are actually parallel, but what they look like is like they're a V, parallel lines meet at infinity. You have an infinity point. This is big. This probably goes back to like 3rd grade geometry for a lot of people. Parallel lines meet at infinity. So parallel lines are train tracks that go like this. But if you have them in perspective, 3rd dimensionally, they end up coming together and meeting like this in infinity. The 3rd dimensional realm is a realm of boxes. We live in a box. It is called having physicality, height, width, and depth. It is the X, Y, and Z axis. I'm not a flatlander. P.S. I have a playlist of supplemental videos on YouTube. There's a movie called Flatland. I highly recommend it. It's a bit of an aside for this particular lesson, but it is about what reality would look like if you were not a 3rd dimensional being, if you were a 2-dimensional being and you lived only on a flat plane of paper. So we are 3-dimensional beings. And the 3rd dimension is the realm of 3D objects that have X, Y, and Z axes. And then they also have placement in time, which would be like saying today is Tuesday at 11:49 a.m. I am the aurora that is shaped like this and is located Tuesday at 11:49 a.m., as opposed to the one that was here at 11:48 a.m., and as opposed to the one that will be here at 11:50 a.m. I just turned into the one that's at 11:50 a.m. We just jumped from one time box to another time box. The 3rd dimensional reality is a valid place to be, but it is not the only slice of reality. When you are seeing on this level of insight, if you are like, okay, I was doing my inner vision work and I saw an image of a place that looked like a house that I went inside of, and there were people there that had a face and 2 arms and 2 legs, or maybe they were otherworldly beings and they had blue skin or whatever, purple golden skin. Whatever it was, that is called anthropomorphic seeing. That is called seeing on the level of the 3rd dimension. Through your perception filter, energy has come, which is abstract, completely raw, undiluted energy of the cosmos. That is like pure information packets. That is what light is. That is what comes from the sun, pure information packets. Coming through the lens of your perception, you then interpret it as a house with a room where I went inside and I met with other beings. And I was also in the shape of a 1-faced, 2-armed, 2-legged person. I'm always using these as abstract examples. Many people have different shaped faces, or sometimes not 2 arms or 2 legs, but you understand what I'm talking about in terms of the generality of what humans are shaped like. To contrast, if you were seeing, or when you are seeing, or when you raise your energy from the anthropomorphic level to the abstract level, and you receive direct consciousness downloads in energy from the sun, the stars, the higher dimensional, less dense realms, the levels of pure divine intelligence, the levels of light that is going fast at the speed of light or faster. Yes, you can go faster than the speed of light. All of that pure, undiluted information comes through your crown and is seen with your inner eye in your pineal gland on the movie screen within your mind, but it does not get interpreted through your human filter as I'm a human being standing here as I stand here in my physicality realm in a house talking to other beings. It is interpreted as these abstract shapes that I showed to you. So these are 2 different levels of perception. When you're perceiving on the abstract level, the information is empirical. Empirical meaning beyond interpretation and beyond distortion. So there's no quibbling. There's no wiggle room. There's no negotiations. In many, many ways, it is much more of a realm that is ruled by pure cosmic law. And that is where I come from. And that is what I'm used to. All of this quibbling and negotiations that happen at this level, I'm like, all of that, pardon me for saying so, but it is nonsense that is wiped away or less consequential It is inconsequential as all of those get wiped away in the true sense of what is happening at the level of the crown, which is much more of an abstract mathematical reality. So in the terms of anthropocentrism here, 1 + 1 = 2. It's truthful across all languages and in all cultures, and there's no way for you to argue with me about it. If I'm your math teacher and you're like, well, maybe 1 + 1 = 2.4. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It equals 2. But maybe it equals like 12.6. No, it doesn't. But maybe 1 + 1 = 12,000. No, it really doesn't. It doesn't. 1 + 1 = 2. And that is just part of the basic foundation of reality. And it is consensually agreed upon as it is as evident to look at and to say, like, these are what these patterns look like. These are what these patterns look like. This is what they are. And there's no quibbling. There's no wiggle room about it. When you go to the level of anthropocentrism, energy is slowed down slightly. Truth is diluted slightly. There's a little bit more wibbly wobbliness in time, and wiggle room for interpretation. So we're getting into levels of philosophy. In the world of philosophy, this is as humans have been bootstrapping themselves up through the various layers of experience and perception. They have gone into different levels of human-centered interpretation. What is right and wrong? Is it right for me to do this? Is it right for me to do this? We can go all the way back to Nebuchadnezzar and ancient Sumeria and the precept, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That is like a philosophical representation on the anthropomorphic level of what is fair. Then we can go into like the Greek philosophers of those who talked about, determinism and being fated to do something versus free will and all of these things. And if I am free, did I choose this? And if I am this, did I choose this? And if this is true, if this is true. Those are the guys that were constantly quibbling and talking and negotiating. But wait, if this is true, there's books this fat about all of this, and you can read them and you can become an expert on this. That is becoming an expert on this level of having a conversation about what is truth. If you just stop having the conversation for a brief moment and accumulate energy, currency. So instead of spending the energy, like if I give you, here's $5 of energy, like great, $5 of energy, I'm going to go spend it right now. But what if I say, here's $5 of energy, please just wait. Someone else comes along, gives you $5 more, till at a certain point you have $100 of energy. At $100 of energy, you can climb the ladder, get to this level of seeing and perception, have your apparatus working and functional in a different way, and you can perceive the real answers to all of your questions and wonderments. So the speaking, intellectual, talking mind says like, I wonder this, I wonder that, mommy, daddy, why is this truthful? Like, I'm not being condescending when I say that. Like, we are at early stages of development, learning, okay? And when I say the mommy daddy thing, it's about like, these are I'm personifying in a lighthearted way, the questing mind of a child. Most of us still have the questing mind of a child that says, wait, why is reality structured like this? And why is this? And why is this? And why is this? And why is this? And I wonder about this. And I wonder about this. And I'm getting $5 of energy and I'm spending it immediately on the verbalized wonderment thought of, I wonder about this. And I wonder about this. And I wonder about this. If you can, hold your mind in abeyance. Like, mind, just want you to sit there in neutral for a little bit of time while I get some more energy coming into me. And then what I want to do with that energy is I want to use it on booking time at the telescope. So these giant telescope arrays, that are here on Earth, like Arecibo or someplace like that. Some of them are giant radio telescopes. Some of them are giant visual telescopes with mirrors. If you're an academic and you want to look at the sky, you have to book time on the telescope. You have to have a project that you want to work on, something important, a thesis, something that you want to learn about, an area of introspection or directed questing in knowledge. And then you have to book time on the telescope because it is expensive. Those telescopes cost a lot of money to make. And then you can't just be like, oh, I want to book time on the telescope and then use it to watch Netflix. You can't do that. You cannot do that because that is not a worthy thing to focus on with that apparatus and its amazingness. You use the Hubble telescope to focus on far distant galaxies and nebulae and learn about the true nature of existence and the cosmogenesis of our world. And many, many people wish to do this. So you book time on the telescope because it is A, expensive, and because B, it is a community resource that many want to use. I use that as the human lighthearted analogy to getting up to this level of the crown. And again, you are in conjunction with time. You are in conjunction with coherent thought forms. You're learning in your sacred journey of learning and becoming a wise adult in the cosmos, part of the civilized galactic world. You are learning in conjunction with the rest of the beautiful civilized galactic world. So the world out there, inside around you, cares about you and cares about your levels of development and wants you to develop and to grow into a well-formed, mature being of consciousness. And also your journey is in community. Your journey is in community, not in a contextless void, okay? Big. So the journey of getting up to here involves up to the level of being able to see profound cosmic truths like the Hubble telescope through your own mind and apparatus. It's not necessarily just about worthiness, like, am I a good enough person? Am I this and that? Have I tithed enough? Have I given to charity? Have I this or that? It is more about gaining the wisdom and structural stability to be able to receive that information without being completely destabilized, ka-chunka, all the way down the chakra system. So again, your chakra system is a holistic system. All of these wheels are spinning. All of these wheels are going in figure eights with each other. The more momentum your whole entire apparatus has, the more you are stable. So when I talk about the love tone in meditation, at a certain point, you get to be like, love tone, grooving through time. It is a very stable feeling. Big. The intersection of your indigo brow chakra and your violet crown chakra is an area of gyrostabilization. Hold on a second, I gotta annotate this. Annotate. Okay, which thing am I drawing? I'm drawing on this one over here. Gyrostabilization. So in a helicopter, you have the blades that spin around the top of the vehicle, and then you also have a rotor on the side. And here is my very loosely drawn model of what a helicopter looks like. And then of course, it's got landing gear down here, and then it flies in this direction, right? Your higher faculties are similar in their gyrostabilized effect to the actions of a helicopter. You have your crown, that is this whirling energy center that is whirling at what I would define as a horizontal, hard to say. So, I mean, the chakra itself is vertical here. The orientation of the vortex is horizontal. It's like an angel's halo, okay? That is your cultural precept that I can use to tell you about. And your complementary blue energy field is whirling at 90-degree angles, which the chakra itself is horizontal like this, but the energy field, I would define it as vertical, and it makes a lens. It makes a big giant lens. Let me use a different color blue. It makes a big giant lens in front of your face. So if you can't see that one. It makes a big giant lens in front of your face. So you have, let me go back here. You have this vortex that kind of swirls inward. So I drew it to the side because you couldn't see it when it was right on top. And it coincides with and emanates from this very special point that is in the direct center of your skull, where here's your vertebrae coming up your spine. Here is where your skull actually meets with your vertebrae, the back of your head. And then here is your midbrain. The midbrain is the area between hemispheres. Let's draw your brain in a brain color. So here is the squiggly, convoluted surface of your brain that is known as the cerebrum. Here is another hemisphere. You have two hemispheres of your brain. So you have, of course, all of these squiggles that are the convoluted outside surface area of your brain. That is yellow over here at the level of yellow human consciousness. And then I'm just going to use another color to highlight so you can see what I'm doing. This cleft in between, this is where your midbrain is. So your midbrain is composed of, I think it is called corpus callosum. There is like a bridge between them. So signals can go to the left and the right, to the left to the left, and right to the right. Your brain is doing the alley cat all the time, all right? And then you also have a series of different glands that are here in the middle. And I'm just drawing them as blobs, but they're kind of lined up in the middle. And that basically everything that is in this midbrain has to do with things that involve all sides of your body, as opposed to, one hemisphere is controlling this side of your body and one hemisphere is controlling this side of your body. And that's the way that you're wired. And these are important neurological aspects to know about yourself. Oh, sorry. Rainbow Body is saying that she can't see the drawing. So were you guys all was I drawing in air and you guys saw nothing? If so, then that is just distressing. I will gesture within my own body brain. Imagine that I have a hemisphere over here and I have a hemisphere over here. My hair is parted in the middle today. How perfect, because that is where the midbrain is. The midbrain is where you part your hair in the middle. There are a series of different glands that are existent. Oh, good. Hans could see the drawing, so I don't know what was the issue. Midbrain is between the two hemispheres, involves the bridging the gap between the two hemispheres so that signals can go across. And that also includes things like eyesight, left-right coordination, all this stuff about having a body, and all this stuff about living in a third dimensional reality, living in a box, being able to perceive depth. Hey guys, one of my hands is closer to you, one of my hands is further away from you. Now I'm switching. You can see all of this through 2 eyes and the system of interpretation. I know not everybody has 2 eyes. Love and blessings to anybody who is different. That's fine. You have a pineal gland. That is at the deep center of your midbrain. It is a lensless eye. It is a vestigial outgrowth of our biological evolutionary journey involving reptiles. Earth's inhabitants have been genetically modified several times on your journeys from when you were pure light eaters. And some of these include modifications to your brainstem and to your pineal gland. So when you look at a lizard that has an actual area on the top of its head that ingests light and gives it its waking sleeping schedule, which is very important to lizards because they are cold-blooded. They need to make sure that they eat when it's light and warm outside so they can sit on a hot rock and digest their food, as opposed to mammals, which you can digest your food while you're in your bed at night and the sun has gone down. But mammals also have a waking sleeping cycle. Your pineal gland helps to regulate your waking sleeping cycle and your circadian rhythm. And it does so by emitting a hormone called melatonin. I've already been this is review in class, but I'll go over it many times because we learn through repetition. Pineal gland emits melatonin, which is a light responsive chemical determining your wake-sleep cycle. It also emits melanin, melanin being the skin protectant pigment that is emitted in your body when you are exposed to light. So your body eats light all the time. You are light eaters even in this moment, even as you are children of light growing into coherent light body adults. Please think of yourself as children of light, okay? And that you are ingesting more and more light from the sun, more and more light in the sense of cognitive awareness and intellectual structure in your understanding or comprehension of the world. And you are learning how to run your body system, your body bodysuit on the fuel of pure light. But that we'll get back to the small business analogy. But in the sense of feeding your light body as you presently are, as a burgeoning child of light. We go outside in the sun, like here in sunny Southern California. I put on all sorts of skin protectant oils because the sun is very bright. It's a lower latitude, and our sun has been very magnified and exacerbated in these days, or sometimes has a lens or an alternative light source that is also there in conjunction with our sun. And it makes your skin change because basically your skin says, your pineal gland says, hey, like there's a lot of light that's coming to me. I better emit some of this filtering material, put that into the body so that I don't get burned to a crisp with too much light. And you know what? You can see I have this lovely houseplant back here. If I put my houseplant outside in the middle of the courtyard on a very sunny day, it would die because it lives here in a place where it is moderate filtered light inside of my house. And it does not have a protective energy field to be able to go into the sun and get all of the sunlight that comes in the middle of the day, or get fried to a crisp. If I planted a sunflower in the middle of my courtyard, which is even a different type of plant, and it grew there, it would develop the protective energy field that is needed in order not to get fried to a crisp. And so, please understand that this lens that is in front of your face, that is made by your indigo chakra, as you are, accreting more light and becoming more and more developed in your light body is absolutely necessary to protect you from overexposure to the sun, overexposure to very, very fast, large amounts of fast moving energy, which is what comes off of the sun. What comes off of the sun? Solar wind, solar particles, solar radiation, tons of ideas and energy and possibilities and probabilities. And if you were exposed to it directly without this chakra system that kind of buffers and mitigates it for you, you would instantly change state. This is called, I want to say evaporation, vaporization. Vaporization, you get vaporized. You get turned into a vapor. You're a solid and you get turned into a vapor or a plasma. That is not necessarily what you want to do, because you understand, like you want your body to change state into being a coherent light body, so that when you go into through the portal of the sun, you and the sun are in perfect conjunction. Your chakras are in perfect conjunction with all light waves, and you do not get incinerated. You do not get vaporized. Instead, you get energized. All the energy comes into you and you go, now I'm moving at light speed, as opposed to my body just got vaporized and now I'm just an ephemeral being kind of floating around. So these are two different experiences. I know it might take a moment to digest. Wait, there might even be questions about that, because I'm getting kind of a sense from, this is my telepathy is connecting to all of you. And I'm kind of sensing your, and I use it a lot when I do my presentations and when I do podcasts or whatever, because I can tell when I'm presenting an idea, a concept to listeners. And when I get that kind of, not pushback, but questionment, then I'm like, I might need to elaborate on this, because I'm definitely getting a cloud of questionment. What's the difference? Why don't we want to get vaporized? Vaporization would be the separation of your physical matter state from your consciousness state. And what we're really trying to do in Ascension is to knit everything together, because that's really your true state of being. Pure light existing as pure light, pure consciousness existing as pure consciousness. We have come here into this level of densification, the dense levels of reality, wherein you have physicality matter that is light, that is moving slower than the speed of light. And then you have your consciousness that is moving at the speed of light inside of you. And you're trying to get the matter of your body to be raised up in a faster mode, to have a faster energy metabolism, to be a being of 100% pure light. And you do that by eating light. And at a certain point, you will not eat physical food. No more applesauce goes in here, but instead you will do light goes in here. And you have a circulatory system of light that brings that light all throughout your body. And I'll tell you exactly how it works. And at that point, you will be beyond being tied to the planet and the plants of the planet. So I spoke 2 sessions ago about the miracle of photosynthesis, which is truly a profound miracle. Like as you're driving down the road, you can look at or feel the trees and the vegetation to the sides of you, and you can be like, I am driving through a miracle. All of that grass, all of those trees, even algae blooms on the surface of the ocean are miracles in the sense of photosynthesis. These are my photosynthetic catchers, like my solar array, are out catching light and then turning it into physical solidified matter. And then I'm going to eat that leaf, I'm going to eat that plant, or a fish will eat the algae and I will eat the fish, cycle of life, however you do it. And there are miracles of the ephemeral nature of light being turned into matter, and then matter being turned into light again as it is in our digestive tract. I'm going to just skip over and go to some notes, but then I'll go back over this. That's not the most efficient way to use your body. That is a repurposing of your body, just like I've spoken about your mouth crystals. These are your mouth crystals, and they're actually meant for telepathic transmissions. They're actually not meant for mashing together potatoes or tomatoes or avocados or whatever we eat that we like. Although we do use them to telepathically transmit to the sun, like this is what this sandwich tastes like. But no, they're actually meant for something else, the repurposing of the body. So right now we are using the body as a type of steam engine. Aurora, how do steam engines work? I will tell you how steam engines work. Steam engines work by you have a giant furnace. That's like your tummy. When you put a lot of coal into it, that's like your sandwiches. And the coal literally gets burned in the cauldron and it heats water, which makes steam. It changes state from liquid into gas, makes steam, and it makes these turbines go. And the turbines go puff, puff, puff. and makes the pistons of the train move, and then the train moves along on the train track, okay? But that is not how we're actually supposed to use our body. So what we're doing is literally burning food. When you take food that is solidified sunlight, like a leaf, a plant, an animal, and you put it inside the cauldron of your tummy, what actually happens is you end up oxidizing it. Oxidation is a type of burning. You're adding oxygen to a substance in order to liberate energy from it. It is burning. Rust is slow burning of metal. Oxidation of metal. Rust is oxidation of metal. Rust is slow burning of metal. You got it. Is transformation of state change. So metal is being changed from a solid into a gas slowly over time. And so this is what's happening inside of your body. You have food that is put inside of you. It is state changed. It is liberated. It is state changed from solid into kinetic energy, which is the muscles that move your energy that moves your muscles. Kinetic energy is energy that moves. And heat energy, infrared, this is, you emit infrared energy. You are a small solar body, but you're just not at the level yet of emitting visible energy. Get it? The sun emits visible energy, not just infrared energy. Aaron, I will get to your question. Hold on a moment. Thank you. I didn't mean to sound so brusque. Thank you so much for your question. I will absolutely read it and go for it in a moment. Our body is moving as a steam engine is a very inefficient way of using our body. So we're supposed to be able to use our body like a solar powered body where we ingest pure light. It is light. It doesn't need to be changed into matter through photosynthesis. And the light goes through a circulatory system within our body. So just like when you eat food or breathe atmosphere, it doesn't just stay in the ingesting area of your body. The lungs ingest atmosphere and then it is circulated all throughout the entirety of your system through your circulatory system. When you put food in your tummy, it doesn't just feed your tummy, it actually nourishes all of your cells everywhere, even down to your pinky toes. And that is because you have a circulatory system that brings that nourishment everywhere. When you have a functional light body, your ingestion of light is direct, and the light goes according to a circulatory system all throughout your body. So that means that this is your aperture through which light enters, but it does not just feed this part of your body here. It circulates all throughout all aspects of your body. Hold on, I really want to get to your question while it's relevant, but I also want to talk about this because I was thinking about this when I went to the beach too. I want to do the whiteboard, and I want to say that I'm going to draw my magical stick figures that I always draw. You guys know I'm a real artist and I can really draw. I just draw these simplified stick figures for the sake of teaching, because it is a little bit challenging to work with these digital tools. There's the magical stick figure of the anthropomorphic form. Here is a blue color. So this energy is coming from the sun. Wait, first I should draw the sun. This is like a child's drawing, guys. Look at this. Like I did that when I was a kid. Okay, energy comes from the sun. You are reaching out with your attention, which is also coming from the Greek, known as atenuos. It means to reach out. I think I should write that for you. Atenuos, and you can see that root word is in different things like attend, attention, things that you are reaching out for. You reach out with this tendril of your mind and are able to touch upon the face of the sun. Whatever you reach out for with your mind is what you are thinking about with the levels of pure insight. This is how you feed your light body. You feed your light body information. You feed your light body, I should say, truth, because you want your body to be built of all of these wonderful structures that are made out of truth, not malformed, which would be made out of partial truths or distorted truths or lies or illusions. Big distinction to make there. So you know that you reach out to the sun and you get pure truth. Let me just drink a little bit here. Reach out to the sun, and then you have this beautiful biofeedback loop with energy coming into you, coming in here, and actually it also comes in through your crown over here, and then circulating all throughout all of the energy centers of your body, a giant vortex all the way around into every single cell, even down to your pinky toe over here, and then circulating back up. And when you do sun gazing, it's a whole unbroken loop. And you then send the experience, what you've done, back to the sun. Now I want to just rewind a little bit, and I want to draw. Oops, I didn't want to get rid of a tenuous. Now I'm drawing, let's imagine these are little tiny cells within your body. All right. This is the cellular structure of individuated somatic, circular or spherical cells. Each one of those cells, let's enlarge it. So here's the enlarged viewpoint of what a cell looks like. Here's a cell. Each one of your cells has a series of chakras in it. Each one of your cells, all the way from, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. I'm going to draw it for you. Orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. I have to do the whole, I'm very obsessed. The whole rainbow. If we're going to do the rainbow, do the whole rainbow. So, and of course, it's not necessarily a linear journey, even though I'm drawing it as a linear journey. So just use your mind and your perception in order to recognize that it is much more spherical. Boom. So each one of the cells in your body over here has its own individuated chakra structure, all right? So let's say when you are drawing energy in from the sun, it doesn't just go into your eye over here and then go around through your whole body. It actually goes into your cell directly over here. And it actually goes in over here. And it actually goes in over here because you have an eye of insight right here in your cell. And your cell reaches out to the sun and gets that direct insight and then gets that nourishment directly into the sun. So I had to make this distinction. It's not actually something that was in my teaching recorded from 10 years ago, because we affiliate and associate so much because of modern science. Here's your brain, like this blob inside of your head is your brain. Science affiliates cognitive thought and existence with the existence of the brain. And we say this because I know that my brain is where I am located in my body, because if I chop out my brain, then I can't think anymore. But if I chop off my big toe, or if I chop out my liver, I can still think. I'm still me. So I know my consciousness is not residing in my big toe or in my liver, even though we know that you're a holistic being with consciousness in the totality of all that you are. So there is a sense of bias that is programmed into your expectation of everything being about the head, the brain, and the sensory structures that exist above your neck. Where what I'm really trying to do is to get you to understand that this absorption of light, although it does happen utilizing this structure that is your third eye in the center of your head, and that's an important place in your body, it is not the only place in your body where that aspect resides. That aspect resides here in every cellular structure of your body, and that when you are attending to the sun and reaching out with your tendril of attention, your tenuous, you are actually reaching out with all of these tendrils of attention. You're reaching out with your whole entire body, but it just might be a lot for you to envision that level of complexity. But please know that that is what is happening when you're reaching out. So you reach out with more than just one tendril of your mind. And also another thing, because I wanted you to know about God being really an incredible intelligence level that creates many different fail safes. And I don't want you to think, well, what if someone does something to my third eye here and then I'll be hungry forever? Because it's not something that is amputatable. It's not something that can be just taken away from one aspect of your being, or this tendril only being taken away from one aspect of your being. You are a holistic state, and it is something that is a part of the entirety of your being. I simplify this method for presentation purposes, just like I do stick figures. I simplify in order for comprehension to be easier. Please embody the true complexity of what I'm saying, that you eat as a holistic totality being with your whole body, even while you might be focused on this. So when you're putting physical food in your mouth, you're like, yes, I'm really focused on my mouth, my lips, teeth, tongue, and my palate, how that tastes, even while knowing that digestion is body-wide and that absorption is body-wide. Same thing with eating light. Your tendril of attention, yes, is intimately connected to your pineal gland. It's functioning. Take good care of your pineal gland, everyone. Please don't take a bunch of fluoride. Please filter your water from fluoride so that you're not taking that. Please don't use a fluoride-based toothpaste. Although Aurora is not a dentist and is not giving you dental advice, and I have to say this as part of terms and services, I'm not a dentist at all, but I highly suggest avoiding fluoridated toothpaste and instead go with the toothpaste that is made out of something called xylitol that actually strengthens tooth enamel. That is wonderful, good stuff that has no problem in terms of diminishing the functioning of your pineal gland. So yes, fluoride is a neurotoxin. In larger levels, it is very troubling to the neurology. It was put into water systems of different prison camps in history, specifically in order to pacify the inhabitants there and to diminish the functioning of their mentality, like, tranquilizing them. So yes, you do not want to have that in your body system, and it is not healthy and functional for your pineal gland. And it is much better to use a different type of tooth cleaner. And what are things that are positive for your pineal gland? Ingesting food that has a lot of light in it. It's because you're feeding light into light. So that's big, to eat food that has light already in it, and then it can better feed your light body. And also a substance that is called ormus. I can get it for you if you want me to. Hold on one second. I don't have it prepared. And so, okay, there are all sorts of different people making ormus and all sorts of different things and ways of doing it. This is the one that I have used that I have found to be an excellent augmenter of my pineal gland. So you can clean out your pineal gland, clean out your brain of fluorides and heavy metals. Cilantro, chlorella, spirulina, these deep green leafy vegetables absolutely help in order to do that. Zeolite, especially microfine zeolite tincture that can cross the blood-brain barrier and get beyond the levels of your digestive tract to be able to go into your brain and remove heavy metals and things like that. There are all sorts of different ways to first clear out the crapola. That's a scientific word, crapola. But then in terms of augmentation, there are all sorts of ormus, O-R-M-U-S. I'm just very clear about, like, I'm not like a salesperson or anything like that. I'm sharing with you about something that I found to be very effective, and also a website and group of people that I think are good people. O-R-M-U-S. Not sure if it is backwards on your screen. This one is called Dance of Light, and it comes from the Dancing with Water people. I feel that they do great work in terms of structuring water and other stuff. And I also found this to be very effective. It is made through superheating different forms of salt, like salt that comes from the ocean. When it is superheated, creates this very interesting pineal gland augmenting structure. Aurora, tell us more about ormus. It was originally developed by these ancient monks that used to take all sorts of different salts from the ocean, put them inside of hollowed out bamboo rods, and put those bamboo rods into like kiln fires that go at very, very high heat. And then it does a change and a transformation of what the salts are based, what they are like, and liberates certain things and binds certain things together. It changes the molecular structure of the salts when they're exposed to high heat, and then they would ingest small amounts of these transformative salts. And it helps to augment your pineal gland, because your pineal gland is a crystalline structure that actually requires micronutrients, microcrystals that are not necessarily available in your food system. So in the food system right now, humans are dealing with a lot of soil depletion. That means that your beets and carrots and kale, wonderful foods of the earth, might not have available within them as much of these special aspects of calcium, potassium, magnesium, all of these different tiny elements that are basically neurotransmitters. So when you see me always drinking my electrolyte water, this is calcium, potassium, magnesium, and a bunch of other things that are really good for my brain. And that is why I drink that all the time. And I would recommend also, absolutely, you want a link for ormus. I'm going to, hold on one second, let me pause. At the request of a lovely participant, I have dropped the link to dancingwithwater.com, their store, and where you can find the ormus. And I also found that it was like this is a large jar and you take a spoonful a day and it's not that much money according to like how much you get, that I found it to be affordable. And also you do not have to take this every day. So what you do is you clear out the stuff that's like crapola from your pineal gland. Then you drink ormus, which is in micro quantities, and it accumulates in your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is like a radio receiver. It needs these little tiny microcrystals in order to function effectively. We don't necessarily get the microcrystals in our diet. Drink some ormus and it will help you. Cautionary note is that lots of people make stuff called ormus. Not everybody makes the same stuff. I don't even know what is the procedure that some people are doing in order to make their stuff that they call ormus. So buyer beware. And that is why I say, I found this stuff. I like it and enjoy it. Like I said, I don't take it every day. I take it as my body requires or requests. And then I do find it to be very effective. And then I will take time off from it. And it is essentially a very salty solution. So I would take it in the morning, like first thing with some structured water on an empty stomach, but knowing that you're ingesting extra salt into your diet. If you're salt sensitive, it might not be right for you. Yeah. So, and also, like if you're checking out that link to Dancing with Water, again, really wonderful company. That's where I get my structured water stuff, and also where you can find the crystalline energy drops, noble elite shungite, all these wonderful things to do with your water, which also helps to augment your pineal gland, helps to structure you inside. Trish says, what about the onion banana juice? Done it for a while. I've never done onion banana juice, so I don't know the effectiveness of that, but she likes that. Now I'm scrolling backward. Aaron, thank you so much for your question, and thank you so much for your patience while I got through my flow to be able to attend with my attention. I'm attending to your question now, so thank you. Aaron says, let's say if my light body is coherent with the energy coming from the sun. If my physical vessel got tossed into the sun, would my physical matter change state into, like, say, plasma, but would my actual consciousness remain a coherent whole? In this example, what might my consciousness experience next after this event? Thank you. I adore you. I adore your thought structure. And thank you for everything that you're thinking and opening the consciousness door for me to be able to have this whole conversation, because this is all about what planetary ascension is. Essentially, what we are going through the experience is a metamorphosis, state change of our body and our planetary structure, so that there's no longer the need for intermediary between our own self and communion and communication with the sun. Everything that we're doing is trying to ascend. So the difference between ascension and death is that in death, there is a separation of here is physical body and here is consciousness. The physical body form has its own journey of decomposition and returning self-state to source, and different rate of speed than the coherent consciousness body. Yes, what we're trying to do is remain coherent no matter what happens. Like if your body becomes separated from your coherent light body, and you do that type of a journey, doesn't mean anything bad or wrong is happening. It is a different pathway and a less direct pathway. Just now with ascension, something else is available to you that might not have been available at other times. The thing that you're focusing on is staying together. I use my joke all the time. It's what good waffles do. They stick together. You know, like the waffles, the edges thinking over in your waffle maker. I know, very silly and lighthearted, but serious stuff here. Coherence means sticking together. Coherent light waves are synchronized. All of their ups and all of their downs jump up and down like beautiful dolphins swimming through the ocean of consciousness, okay? That is what we're doing literally here in this journey of refining our light, refining our consciousness, refining our soul. We're synchronizing in these beautiful loops and beautiful figure eights every aspect of our consciousness and energy body so that it stays together even if you become separated from your physical body. However, the goal is not to become separated from your physical body, but instead to change, metamorphosis, change state, elevate in its metabolism structure, the physical body, so that it can also synchronize in these beautiful coherent light forms and be able to make the journey with us, but in a different state. And that is what ascension is. So if we took Aaron as you presently are, and we chucked you into the sun as it presently is, it is likely that your physical body would vaporize, and then you would be left with your coherent light body, and there would be like a separation between these two aspects of you. But the idea is we want to do what good waffles do, stick together, keep everything together. So what is happening instead is, just like I'm not going to put my plant in the courtyard and fry it, I'm not going to put you directly on the surface of the sun and fry you. Going to slowly acclimate you to the sun. That's what's been happening with human culture over the past 20 years that I've been here. More and more influx of light, which is intelligence, which is data, which is consciousness, which is structural time, structural, whatever abstract nature of time, is coming into the surface of the planet, and it is transformative to the beings that are here. Your metabolisms are moving beyond that of a puff steam engine and getting to the point of being able to be solar powered. In many ways, ascension is a return to your true self state of who and the definition of what you are before the fall, before the flood, before the end or destruction or catastrophe of the antediluvian world that is actually a parallel world that we all are from. Hi, everybody. Hi again. I know you all from Atlantis. We all know each other from Atlantis and from Lemuria and from an ancient world of Mu. These are all previous cultures, concurrent cultures, and previous levels of existence that were much less corporeal or less physical than our present level of self-state. I'll get to this though. The flying rainbow lasagna is a recreation of that self-state when we make matter that responds directly to consciousness. So the matter body that we're in and the matter world that we're in, and that wall behind me, is less material than it used to be. As the light is flowing into this world and each human being is being transformed. I'm just going to pause. Hold on a second. Going into our world, it is transforming not only the physical body of humans, physical body of trees and dogs, it is also transforming matter itself. Matter is an aspect of our mind, group collective mind, solar stellar mind. It is an aspect or an outgrowth of our consciousness. We are collapsing waveforms into matter. We have been living in this objective materialist world. Remember the guy that chomps on the cigar and says, hey kid, you're a body and you're made of meat. And one day I'm going to make you into meatloaf or whatever. Like I'm being like incredibly facetious in all of this. Also says, hey kid, the wall is just the wall. And you know, it ain't nothing more than that. I can't even do that characterization anymore. Maybe time to throw that one out the window. The wall is the wall, and it's nothing more than what you perceive in terms of it being there. But we all know as we are moving into greater states of awareness that the wall is more than mere matter. The wall is a series of uncollapsed waveforms until we, through observership, make the wall be in existence. And consensual reality is when we all agree, yes, the wall is the wall. Yes, the dog is the dog. Yes, the painting is the painting. And that we are all perceiving things with our five senses. And also, we recognize that we are moving into a level of empowerment where what your mind is doing is having an impact on what the wall looks like, what are its qualities, how it is sustained there, and other aspects of experiencing objects that appear to be hard edge objects in reality. Okay, this is definitely running forward in the class because I have to get through so many more notes. But part of what I also recorded was a video 10 years ago of flying rainbow lasagna with the sun. This is a practice, just like sun gazing, of jumping the singularity that is within you to the singularity that is within the sun. And in doing so, and I've been doing this for 20 years in this world, and I have been transforming matter, transforming the matter of my own body, transforming the matter of this world. We do not live in a world that is the regular world of matter that you once knew about before this flying rainbow lasagna activity and process has been ongoing. You live in a world where this matter is redefined, and now it is defined as matter that responds directly to consciousness. So that means that your body responds to your thought state about your body. What you are thinking about your body, your matter body literally responds to. What you're thinking about that wall, the wall responds to. The wall responds to how you are thinking about it. The world responds to how you are thinking about it. So all that I just gave you right now is a buffered, non-threatening amount of the truthful information that comes directly from the sun. So it comes from the sun into me and my self state and is translated through the flapping of my moving mouth parts and through paintings and other things that I can share with you to begin to sprinkle these ideas into your levels of consciousness. We joke about this when people talk about my mind is blown, like, whoa, 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 like you just blew my mind. This is when the cognitive abilities are overwhelmed by certain levels of intelligence. So the information coming from the sun is an incredibly overwhelming amount of pure intelligence. And this is similar to what is happening in the entirety of all stars. Sun is one star. All stars are incredibly intelligent. They are part of an enormous intelligent array that, when you add it together with many, many other things, is divine. It is divinity. So you would absolutely be incinerated or changed into vaporized instantaneously if you went to the surface of the sun and you were exposed to all of that information immediately without going through this transformative process to be able to make yourself able to withstand the intensity of that truthfulness. Same thing with being able to withstand the intensity of the truthfulness that comes from everythingness. All of the musicians in the symphony, all of the musicians in the stellar band, they're all singing songs of profound truthfulness that if you are exposed to them right away, you would be incinerated in the sense of overwhelmed by the truthfulness of it. So this is the whole point of the 20-year-long journey that my dog is hugging me, 20-year-long journey of a planetary ascension, personal ascension, and moving into higher self states. So you're coming from Atlantis, experiencing this density world, experiencing the world of separation and grief, rejoining your true self state where you do not have to die. That whole idea of separation and loss. When you die, your body is like, "Aw, I died." Wah, wah, the Pac-Man goes, I'm being lighthearted. But death is truly profoundly sad. The cells of your body grieve themselves, is what I'm trying to say. Your body is not a disposable object, like whatever Kleenex or something you throw away or disposable toothbrush. Body is an amazing miracle event. And when you die, a regular metabolic death, all the cells of your body are like incredibly sad and grief-stricken. And they have to deal with the fact that they don't get to go where they actually want to go, which is into a state of pure light. They'll go there, but just in a very indirect state. Got it? Their journey is inevitable, but they will go there in a very indirect state. The most triumphant thing to do is to take your body cells upward, higher. Upward and higher are very spatial terms, but I'm speaking in terms of frequency, to go into higher levels of frequency and self-state, where they do not die. Your body does not have to die. With Flying Rainbow Lasagna, your physical body does not have to die. But what happens is you go through this transformative experience. And you're already on the journey, everyone. You've already been here in my class for X amount of time, learning how to transform into higher levels of self-state with the eventual goal that you will not have to have your physicality being sadly grief-stricken, decomposing somewhere while your spirit flies off free, but that your body transforms and goes into the state of light also. We are already in that sea of light. You're already there. We've been there for about 2 years, but this is tough because there have been many impediments is the word I'm looking for. There have been many impediments to humans receiving all of the light that is flowing to this planetary structure and being able to integrate it effectively into one's coherent light body. Those impediments are things that I don't want to overly exacerbate by giving a lot of verbal energy to them. Some of them are energetic, purely energetic. Some of them are purely frequency-based. Many of them come from technology. Some of them are within the human body corporeal form at this point. Some of them are arrays that are installed on your planet. Some of them are arrays that are orbiting around your planet in the form of satellites. Some of the distortions and diminishments of the sun and solar energy have to do with arrays that are between the physical sun and your physical planet. Some of them have to do with consciousness beings, interlopers, occupiers of the interstices and in between levels of dimensions that are co-opting your light. They're getting high in your stash. Talked about them before. Because we create with our mind, I don't want to have you unduly focused on them. I want you to attenuate and focus on the true sun, on true light, on true intelligence, on true information. That is everything that I give you with the flapping of my moving mouth parts and with my consciousness, my state of being, my telepathic email emanations, my paintings, my music, everything that I'm doing with that is about giving you information from the sun in appropriate amounts that will not overwhelm you unduly, that will instead lead to your growth. When you give a plant the right amount of light, it grows. It doesn't get burned and incinerated, it grows. So your light body grows exactly like a plant. Okay. Before I get that much further into class, let me refer to my notes and make sure that I'm getting through everything. Dun, dun, dun. Your pineal gland is at the intersection of your violet chakra with your indigo chakra. It is similar to a lensless eye. It is a glandular biophysical representation of the energetic anatomy that is the meeting point or the place of coincidence of the indigo and violet chakras. I already did their orientation and that they are gyrostabilizing. If you have not yet activated the crown chakra, it is not yet a stable system. This is the cautionary tale that I've spoken about before in terms of getting to the levels of Christ consciousness and higher levels of awareness and perception. But if one has not created, first of all, a stable root chakra, stable heart chakra, and then stable crown chakra, then it is not a stable level of being. Many psychedelic journeys are destabilizing in this way. They kind of cause an immediate flowering and opening up of the third eye. Tons and tons and tons of insight and information comes through. A lot of it is largely anthropomorphic. This is when people say, I hallucinated. I saw that I went to a castle. Different gods and goddesses were there. They wore robes and had physical faces. I talked with them using English language or, something akin to it, or they showed me a book or something like that. And then I returned back to myself. That's like one level of visionary experience. I'm not criticizing you, but I'm saying that is a very limited slice of perception of what visionary experiences can be, because when you get to the true level of light metabolism, you would go to a place that looks like what one of my paintings looks like, receive information that is direct in the language of color, line, shape, form, and movement, texture, and tone, the language of harmonics, and then integrate that into your body being. And then when you return to earth, quote unquote, when you return to a more intellectual self state, translate all of that through your throat chakra to be able to clothe it with words, to be able to translate it into the level. I do this all the time. I get pure insight and then I translate it into paintings. I translate it into allegories and analogies. That's why I speak so much about allegories and analogies, small business, being a small business owner, growing a garden, all these things, because that is how you do the translation. And remaining with the pure levels of insight being undisturbed. I talked about this being your library card to the cosmos. I did not talk enough about this being the librarian of the cosmos. So these two things in the perfect idealized partnership, which is what marriage should be like a compass and a needle. This is the needle of the compass, and it determines where God is located within the larger time field, because God's presence and location is ever shifting. So on the one hand, I'm flying in this direction because my GPS, my God positioning center, is telling me go over here. Then God switches. God's in a different position. God's over here. It says fly over here. Now fly over here. Now fly over here. That directive is supposed to direct the insight, the inner eye that you use to learn and read from. Fly over here. Look down this time tunnel. Learn from divinity in this direction. Oh, now you're going to have to change where's your tendril of attention. Bring it over to here, because now there's something over here that you need to learn about. Now it's flying over here. It's flying back this way. Oh, and that's flying towards the houseplant. I'm being silly and lighthearted, but serious. Librarian of awareness. So this librarian determines what you should be learning from the master teacher here in your own curriculum that is uniquely suited to you and your journey through time. This is what I also say in terms of you recognizing and claiming that you are a child of light and a student in the University of Cosmos. Don't have to know everything. You're on a journey of learning and expanding and returning to being a 100% intelligent, pure light being. And you have guides along the way. These guides are pure energy presences, and they also are analogous to master teachers or coherent light beings, ones who have already made this journey. They already made the journey up the mountain. In fact, they are you, and they know exactly what to tell you so that you know where to place your footsteps. There's destabilized rock over here. Don't put your feet on this rock over here. Walk on this rock over here. Now here's a handhold for your hand over here. Don't put your hand over here. This is all ice that's going to break off. Put your hand over here. This is climbing a mountain, being guided by your own self that has already been up the mountain. That is an inevitability particle that is talking to you from that state of inevitable triumph that is then helping you in this moment to be able to know how to act, what to believe, what to know is truthful, and move in the direction of inevitability. It's all a big, giant, positive time loop of things that you actually wish to be experiencing, which is your inevitable ascension or reascension or reconvening and absorption again into the world of pure light. You're being guided by the librarian. You have access to your library card. You are learning from the cosmic university. It is very important for your insight to be directed by the librarian. And this is where we get to levels of the fraught nature of marriage and partnership. Who's in charge? Who is in charge? Should a man be in charge? Should a woman be in charge? Who should be saying what they should be saying? Who should be determining where do you live? What do you do with your money? How many cars do you own, or do you spend your money on something else? Like, these are all of the natures of being in a partnership that there's often conflict. In this and this, there's no conflict. There's no conflict, just like there's no conflict between the assertion that 1 + 1 = 2. The crown sees things and perceives things directly and empirically. There is no argument. It is like saying to everyone, God is here. There is no argument. You go in this direction. The insight follows. Insight should not be like, well, wait, I actually have my own idea, and I do not want to eat Italian food for lunch. I want to go out and eat, whatever, Thai food instead. And that is, certainly a human dynamic between embodied partners, but that is not the dynamic within your own physicality, within your own light body. Your own light body is holistic, and the heart doesn't say like, I want to pump the blood, and the lungs say, well, wait, but I want you to do it this way. Your heart and your lungs work together seamlessly, joyfully, and joyously, each one embodying its own perfect nature, and each one working towards the holistic health of the entirety of the being. The insight chakra and the crown chakra work together in the same perfect harmony, where there is no fighting or squabbling. The crown chakra has a much more detailed and accurate empirical view of reality. It is mathematical perfection. It is divinely connected. Crown connects to the divine. It's where you plug into the wall. There's my electrical plug on the wall behind me over there. Your electrical plug is where you plug into the power grid. Your crown chakra is where you plug into God. And it is the most direct and accurate place for getting ideas, intelligence, and pure light information. The area of your insight is a lens. Again, I've tried to use the analogy that it is also a protective shield, just like melanin that protects our skin from overexposure to the sun. The shield of the eye of insight, the lens, helps to protect us from overexposure to the ideas of the sun, so that you don't get your mind blown, you don't get your mind fried. There are what we used to have in Woodstock, we call them psychedelic casualties, people who have taken so many psychedelics or such a large dose over time that they have their minds fried. Their neurology or neurotransmitters are in many ways overwhelmed, and perhaps they never recover. Please do not ever be a casualty. Don't be a casualty of transcendent insight, be it be molecularly assisted or be it happening naturally. Please take your journey in manageable increments, guided by your inner master teacher, which is guided by the great librarian, which all of this is your own higher self, which all of this is God, you, the divine presence, guiding yourself back home. The crown chakra determines in which direction is truth. Where should the eye of mind, the eye of insight, focus its attention? I already said what a tenuos comes from. This is a vortex of energy that reaches out. It touches on whatever you're thinking about. If I touch on my elbow, I'm thinking about my elbow. Yes, you can touch on yourself and think about yourself. The other day, I touched on my own bloodstream. Like, wow, every single one of my red blood cells is perfectly shaped toroidal structure. That's what happens when you touch on yourself. You see the truth of yourself. I can touch on my dog and learn about her. I can touch on a plant and learn about a plant. I can touch on the sun and learn about the sun. When you put your eye of attention on the sun, you're eating small amounts of pure light, and you are ingesting the truth of that being that is the sun, that is connected to the rest of the stars. We begin cultivating this tendril of attention in order to eat the sun and its information light directly. food is solidified sunlight. I already gave you my whole wrap on that. The higher faculties resting upon a foundation of love, cultivating all of the energy that you need to get to unconditional love. And you can then begin ingesting light and energy directly, which is much more efficient than solid food. Back to this. So we got the contrast of a puff steam engine. Coal, I put coal in here, carbon. Coal is carbon. Get it? Like a salad is made out of a bunch of carbon and it goes inside of my tummy. And then I burn it and I turn it into kinetic energy and my muscles move like pistons. Puff, puff, puff. I'm running down the road. I'm a toot, toot, toot. I'm a train going down the road. But that is very, very different than when we are clean burning solar engines. I almost want to say nuclear engines, but in the recording, I say very clearly that the sun is much more than merely a nuclear furnace in the sky. That is how objective materialist science describes it. It is a consciousness vehicle. It is a ball of possibilities. It is a portal of light. There are electromagnetic events that happen there. There are chemical events that happen there. There are nuclear or atomic events that happen there. Or what is a nuclear event? A nuclear event is not like when the bombs exploded incinerating Hiroshima, which is like a great distress and a great tearing of worlds that happened. A nuclear event meaning that it involves the things that are happening within the nuclei of atoms, the structure of atoms themselves, and where electrons in the electron shell of atoms, how they are bonding with different aspects of other aspects of self. So it is happening on the tiniest level of matter, the tiniest crumbs of cake that we can split the cake of matter into and still call it cake. You split up cake until a cake. So cut that slice more and more and more until it is the tiniest slice of cake you can possibly make, and that's called an atom. And the behavior of atoms coming together under these enormous levels of pressure and heat is called the nuclear event. All of that is absolutely happening. And what is also happening is portals of consciousness, portals of light, portals of information. This is similar to gestation in the womb. In the womb, yes, you have conception and you have hormones and other things swimming around happening there. That's an accurate reflection of the physicality structure. And then you also have the creation and gestation of life and consciousness and spirituality and so many other things that are happening. Same thing about what is happening in the sun. When you reach out, first you build your tendril of attention. You build it, you have to generate it. You have to get enough gas in your car of unconditional love to raise your energy, to create this whirling vortex, to create this protective lens, to create this sense of being, to be able to reach out to the sun. And then the more that you do that, you also are activating your crown chakra that tells you where to go in the library, what to do, how to do this. It directs you. So for right now, again, I'm an intermediary to the sun. I think that's maybe one of the best job descriptions I could ever come up with. Hi, I'm Aurora, and I'm an intermediary to the sun. I have some ideas and energy from the sun that I would love to share with you, and I hope that you're open and receptive to it. And as you ingest these ideas and energy from me in the form of my words and the flapping of my moving mouth parts and my paintings that I make, and also my music and other things that I share and emanate outward from you, you get more light inside of you. And the more light that comes inside of you, the more you activate your own inner tendril. And then at a certain point, you are sun gazing. You are getting that light and that information and energy directly from the sun. There are impediments in the sun right now to our true communion, community, and communication, all the same root word coming together, and you don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about it, Aurora, like, don't be facetious. Yes, what I'm trying to say is that you can supersede all of these difficulties and still do sun gazing. However, it is not as direct as it once was. So in private, after I did a couple of weeks ago conversation I've been having like with Trish and other people, they're like, the sun is not the same as it used to be. It's definitely not the same. It used to be a golden, gentle ball of yellow sunlight. And it's even why I wrote the album that is called Under a Gentle Sun. The music that I make is absolutely intentional in reality creation. Matter responds to consciousness. I sing songs to bring into matter and into being from the consciousness level that I wish to be, for us to live under a gentle sun. What does that feel like? A sun where the emanations are not like a white, hot, burning presence that starts conflagrations and burns your skin and is unbelievably glaring and uncomfortable to be around, that is part of the artificial nature of what is going on right now. So there's an artificial nature that is either a lens array, an augmentation of the sun, an indirect light bulb in the sky, and or other aspects of magnifying or diminishing the sun that is there. And all of this is an impediment to connecting with the true sun. So when I say, like, don't worry about it, please don't think that I'm being facetious and throwing it out the window. I'm saying you are an inevitability particle. Your journey to the sun and to the stars and becoming a star is inevitable. I always say this, spoiler alert, you become the sun, you become the stars. It's inevitable. That's you up there. That's you up there, out there talking to yourself. But right now there's also crapola that is making it like, I can't, like, I'm trying to talk to you. It's so hard for you to get through. You're like, I got a bad signal down here. So you love the sun loves you, coherent light being and coherent light family loves you. Difficulty with signal strength, difficulty with clarity of signal and being able to get that through down here. What can you do? You can fly rainbow lasagna up and around these difficulties. And that is what I do all the time. By flying rainbow lasagna up and around these difficulties, I get up there, out there. I get what I call groceries, light food, information, rectification waves, and I jump back into this reality. And then I'm like, oh, hey guys, just got home with my big giant shopping bags full of good stuff, like have some avocados, have some carrots, have some good stuff that I just got. And that's what lasagna is. And it is literally for your own uplift and to have a chance. If I were not bringing in the groceries and doing these things, then it would be like it would be starvation here in terms of a light being. Light beings eat truth. There has been a lot of lies and distortions promulgated on this planet and in these levels of reality. I don't want to alarm you, but the thing that is in the sky, there's our true sun, but then there's something else that's in the sky. It emits a false light that even makes it so that when you look at your own skin or other people's faces, you're not necessarily seeing their true face. It can be a difficult world to navigate in light of, in view of that truth. That has been going on for like the past 10 years, and it's gotten very exasperated over the past 3 years. Please do not go into despair. Please put your shoulders back and recognize that the true sun is there, and the true sun exists internally at the top of your own spine, and that there is absolutely 0 miles between who you are here and the singularity that is at the sun. We'll get into FRLing with the sun. I'm going to do this very fast. Bend and fold the fabric of time, space, and consciousness. There are 0 miles, there are 0 inches, 0 centimeters, 0 millimeters between yourself and the sun. You are a solar being, you are a being of light, you are a child of light. You are able to tap into that level of pure light and pure intelligence and pure nourishment to run your body as it should be run. So in Atlantis, in the antediluvian world, before or beyond these levels of genetic degradation and mortality and loss, which is really the reason why these bodies become mortal, one of the reasons why, is because the eating of food. But while you're here, be a food eater. Please eat good food. But there are metabolic byproducts and other aspects of the oxidation process that cause a lot more wear and tear on the engine. To traditional people that are just eating food, your body has a limited lifespan because of these byproducts and metabolites. However, there is, of course, a way to eat food so that you are a perfect frictionless eater, so that you have less of that diminishment, and you are not storing up energy in terms of having it be stored as emotional energy. You're directly transmitting it to the sun, that you're actually using while you are here in physicality or in semi-physicality. Be a miracle of light, eating food that is a miracle, putting light into light. Think of yourself eating in that way. I was eating my dinner last night. That's exactly what I was saying to myself. I'm going to sit down and eat some miracles. I'm a miracle. I'm going to sit down and eat some miracles. Okay, guys? Because I don't want you to go into any sense of guilt or self-recrimination. That's the antithesis of love. You need to love yourself and literally love and absorb your food into yourself. Absorb all of the light that is in the food that is given to you, which is a divine gift from the person that invented art supplies. Like, we're in the art studio, the person that invented the art supplies is like, have some art supplies, use them, paint reality. It's a gift from that level of pure creation, and to be able to have those art supplies, light come inside of you, and then what are you going to do with it? Matter responds to consciousness. Begin thinking of your body as a transformed body. How does your body act when you are not a puff puff steam engine? When you are not a puff puff steam engine, you sit in a comfortable position with your spine erect or in alignment as an antenna. Put the tongue on the roof of your mouth. Connect your inner eye and your inner reservoir of light to the sun and the externalized reservoir of light, knowing that they are the same thing. Draw in, is the best way I can say it, breathe in, but also draw in. I don't know if you can even know, but you can see the tension in my muscles when I do this. It is an engagement. When I'm drawing in, I'm engaging this energy into me, and also draw up from the earth. And as I'm doing this, I'm filling up all of my chakras or energy centers. I am also using the circulatory system of my light body to circulate this energy all throughout me in amazing spirals and figure eights, all the way back up to here, where I then reconnect with the sun and the stars. So I become like a bridge of light between the earthly presence and the stellar presence. At a certain point when you are doing this, you will begin to disengage from the earth. Your feet will disengage from the earth. You will no longer walk on the earth, but you will be alive and in conjunction with the earth, but you won't have to have plants. You won't have to have a garden. You will not have a floating hydroponic garden like on a space station where you're like floating in 0G and here's like my zero gravity, whatever, you know, like tomatoes or red peppers or something like that. No, that is not what you do, and nor do you grind it all up in toothpaste tubes and drink it or take it as protein pills like Major Tom. No, that is not what you do. What you do is you eat pure light. But as one stage of development, you are still in conjunction with the sun and with the events of the planetary structure. And then at the next stage of your expression, your self-expression, you are free from being tethered to the experiences of Earth, and you become expansive and a galactic citizen traveling on the pathways of light that are throughout all of the star systems of your galaxy and involved with the consciousness harmonics of all of the life forms that are in your galaxy. And this is what the struggle for planetary ascension is about, because there are problems in your galaxy. It's a whole area, a whole swath of the stars of your galaxy that got like smashed or mushed or something. It doesn't look very good. It's got a problem. You have a problem with your elbow, it affects your whole body. You have a problem with an area, an arm of the Milky Way star system, it affects all of the stars. It affects you on Earth out here in the rural Highway 52 dirt road of consciousness, what they call whatever, the boondocks, out here in the rural areas. Yes, there are problems in other places. And also this affects me as Aurora, a neurological impulse traveling along the consciousness highway of star systems. And it is why I'm here as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So I want to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna with the sun. Trish is saying, not much feeling the information coming from the sun. I understand completely. It's like when you have a weak radio signal to the really good music, and then you have a strong radio signal to like the crappiest commercial rock. You know, you're in your car driving along. It used to be this way, like car radios used to have like a dial that you turn. You're driving along. You're like, can I get a song? Can I get a song? You hear like a tiny little bit of Mozart. Like, oh, like that sounds good. Let's turn it. And then you turn it a little bit more. And what you get is like loud, like crashing, rock and roll, like very simplistic sound structures. That is what our world is like. We should be getting the most amazing meal of ideas, energy, consciousness, uplifting, cognitive information and food coming from the sun. And it should be, first of all, it's customized. You have a custom diet. What are the nutrients that you particularly need on your journey for your particular uplift? So all of this from the master teacher is customized to you. And then also it is amazingly harmonically complex. That's why I bring up Mozart, or we could talk about Bach, any one of these amazing composers that created complex harmonic structures much more than the, you know, simple 4/4 radio rock. No offense to radio rock, and I sing karaoke too, and it's fun. But what we're really talking about is a greater level of artistry and greater levels of truth in the music that comes from the true sun, as opposed to the artificial light sources and distortion of light sources that have been coming to us that are not a replacement for the beautiful, finely tuned music violins, concerto, a symphony, music that was made with a great deal of artistry and divine presence. As I'm doing this, I'm doing my tuning fork on my body. So I'm doing my divine presence, tuning up my body too. And that is also an aspect of this teaching. So please understand that the true sun does exist, but its true signal has been drowned out by some crap rock. And that what you really want to do is, with everything you can, stretch out your tendril of attention and tune into these true broadcasts that are there. And I will keep on sending you true broadcasts to you indirectly from what comes to me from the sun, because I fly rainbow lasagna with the sun. On to my next teaching. So I have 2 videos that I recorded 10 years ago, way back when I was in Woodstock, and then they're also available on Teachable. So when you are doing the class homeworks, and this is for lesson 12, level 1, they're there in conjunction with that. And one of them shows how I do flying rainbow lasagna with the sun. And I should prepare also my video here. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause. Hold on one second. I am going to do a little share screen here, and I'm going to share with you this wonderful, amazing video from many years ago, but that is always in style. This shows the formation of the flying rainbow lasagna, jumping, singularity jumping in one direction, then jumping in the next direction, then jumping back. This constant oscillation, back and forth jumping movement. That is what creates the waveform known as flying rainbow lasagna. And it jumps back and forth 8 times in order to make the entirety holistic flying rainbow lasagna portal shape, okay? Don't worry, I'll show it to you again. When I do flying rainbow lasagna with the sun, so sun gazing is, I send out my tendril of attention to the sun, drink, 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 drawing up from the earth presence too, and then either do, filling up my body completely, either a loop back around and to the sun, or sometimes just directly shooting out the top of my head, depending upon what feels appropriate, especially in these circumstances of this world. Circumstances are a politeness, and in air quotes, I clutch my pearls. Flying rainbow lasagna with the sun is slightly different. I do start off with creating a Merkaba protection, star tetrahedron, force field of protection, because I do that like an artist creates an art studio and protective place to be able to exhibit your creativity. And that is a way of being able to say in responsibility, I intend to create these positive repercussions in the time field. I do not intend to create these other perturbations. So it is a way of creating a protective space for your own explorations and your own contributions to the world of time space. So Merkabas can be used like just in general as you're moving through time as an immune system to attract longevity events and repel events that would cause disease, harm, or death. When you are doing flying rainbow lasagna, you can use Merkaba as a way of safeguarding your practice and your creations, your co-creations, so that they are towards longevity and rectification of the time field and adding to the beautiful music that is there and diminishing the likelihoods or rejecting or whatever, sending those waves to silence, mistakes or things that would be perturbations or exacerbations of negative tendencies. You got it, you got it. I felt the telepathic affirmation there. So how do I do flying rainbow lasagna with the sun? We have another cloudy day. We've had clouds for weeks here. I'm not complaining, but we get a lot of the grayness from the ocean, like kind of low-hanging clouds that come from the moisture from the ocean. So I know the sun is roughly out there in that direction. What I do is I envision the singularity that's within me, either in my heart, how perfect that I'm wearing this dress today because that's right where it is, singularity either in my heart or in the very center of my midbrain, jumping outward to the sun. And the first time it jumps outward, it's just like that video, that first jump creating one flange or one swooping shape of this sculpture. It jumps from me to the singularity that is out there and creates one big, giant half cone. Then it jumps back to me and it creates the next swooping half cone. Then it jumps back to the sun and it creates the next giant, enormous scale half cone. Then it jumps back to me and it creates the next giant sized half cone. And it's an oscillation 8 times. And I just joked about the simpleness of 4/4 time, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lasagna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I also tell you about the 8 movements that you can make with this too. There's an up, down, a side to side, a forwards, backwards, and an end over end. So here's the 8 count. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is over and end like this, and then 8 is the complement coming up in the other direction. These are simple time signatures and still effective. So I don't want to be down on the 4/4 time. Still good stuff. Jumping back and forth. What does this do? This is also the exemplification of that basic truth that I'm always telling you about. Flat plane of time. You are here. There's an inner sun inside of you. Here's the externalized sun. Here's 93 million miles. The sun is not 93 million miles away. It is actually 0 miles away. It is actually overlapping. This shape becomes a portal or a bridge of energy, bridging you, the externalized, individuated light creature, with that which is your home, which is yourself, which is your return, which is your destination. The same thing. I'm jumping back and forth with myself. However, I'm in a different self state here than I am when I'm there. When I'm there, I'm a giant ball of light and possibilities, and I know everything. And when I'm here, I have a densified body, and I'm also in areas of relative ignorance, jumping back and forth with myself. I'm sharing my viewpoint here of what things look like from this level of perspective, and I'm jumping there and getting groceries, what it looks like from that perspective, jumping back and forth, jumping back and forth. So I do this. I've been doing this for many years since I've been here as Aurora, and I continue to do this even with solar arrays, chemtrails, crapolas everywhere. Jump around them, jump beyond them. If you can't jump around them and jump beyond them, I will jump around them and jump beyond them, and then bring in the groceries and send them to you telepathically. If you're open to that, what that would feel like is, please tune into my energy signature. My energy signature is not the same as my face. It is not even the same as the word Aurora written out, even though you can envision both of those things. My energy signature is a state of music. Is my piano on? I'm a song. I'm a song, and you tune into my song. You tune into my song, which is this amazing waveform presence, and that is how you find me, no matter where I am. That's why I say it doesn't look like my face or my name, even though you can think of those things because those bring you associatively to my song. But my song is an abstraction that is beyond the anthropomorphic world. The anthropomorphic world is seeing on this level. So if you saw me anthropomorphically, as people often meet me in their dreams, and I love doing dream work with people, again, consensually, if you're open to it, I do a lot of dream work with people in terms of teaching and sharing. You might be like, oh, I dreamed I was in a classroom and Aurora was there and she was teaching people how to do sun gazing, which is what one student of this class emailed me, which is so beautiful. And I was like, yep, that's beautiful. That doesn't surprise me at all. What I actually was doing was sending out abstract telepathic light forms to this participant and many other people, all of whom were gathered in this place that is the in-between world of, between waking and sleeping. It's a genuine dream time world. And they received those informations through their anthropomorphic lens. They then interpreted it as being in a classroom, sitting in a box, in a room that is shaped like a box, or sitting at a desk, or wherever it is, while information is coming to you. So these are allegories. The table, desk, chairs, faces, people, places are allegories for the human level of consciousness that is on the journey towards abstraction. When you live in the sun, you live in a world of abstract light and harmonics, and you don't necessarily have faces and hair. You have a different way of signifying each other and knowing each other, and you still know each other individually, and you will be able to recognize each other. You'll be like, that was that guy that looked like that, but now you look like this. Yes, we will recognize each other via our energy signature. That is big. So I even don't have an analogy to be able to say how you can sense somebody's energy signature, but you can sense the feelingness of who they are. Like, feel them. I don't know, like maybe it's analogous to, like, if you didn't know who wrote a piece of music and you listened to it, and beyond even musical style, if you could be like, that feels like this particular person, like you can feel like that feels like Jimi Hendrix playing, or like that feels like Mozart playing. That's the best way that I can say it. Like, but it's all, we get into these levels where I'm trying to speak with non-literal allegories that are only mere approximations of truth. So I will just lay it out for you. Sometimes I feel some levels of frustration because I'm like, I am working with mere allegories and approximations of truth. And what I really want to give you is the extreme mathematical truth. 1 + 1 = 2. And language does not really allow for that possibility for me. So I use all of these. It's metaphors and similes. It's a thing like this. It's a thing like this. It is like this. And those are truthful. And they are also coming through some layers of distortion and personal interpretation filters. So please know that this information exists as an empirical truth with no negotiations needed, no wiggle room, just the simplicity of knowingness and beingness, and that it is so comforting to me, actually. The world of anthropomorphic interpretations is so uncomfortable to me. Just like the world of philosophy, where they're like, well, one philosopher says this is true, and one philosopher says this is true. And then they argue back and forth and scratch things in the sand. That all of that, although it might be, it's drama, it's human drama. Like, I say this, well, I say this, but I say this, but I say this, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's definitely generative, like it's drama, thesis, antithesis. It's not as comfortable to me. The world of pure abstraction is so comfortable to me because I'm like, this is blue. It is blue, and no one's gonna, just do not argue. This is blue, and that is it. And this is yellow, and this is green, and this fits together like this. And these are incontrovertible truths. And that I feel very solid and stable standing upon those incontrovertible truths, as opposed to these truths that are expressed in language or are only contextually relevant and truthful. Because the truth should be truthful for a rock shrimp, or a redwood tree, or a human, or the entire planetary ecosystem. That is truth. That would be considered fractal and holistic and scalable without losing information, meaning it's truthful for a tiny rock shrimp, it's truthful for the entire planet, it's truthful for the entire solar system, it's truthful for all light everywhere. And it doesn't lose anything by being expanded up to that level or shrunk down to that level. This is very different than if we're taking something and using allegory, metaphor, simile to be able to teach it, but it's like a rock shrimp is not going to relate to your metaphors because it has a completely different sensory structure, or a blue whale, or whatever is a different form of life, an organism than you, even dolphins that have very different levels of experience. Tricia says, Aurora, does our energy signature include our higher selves? Yes, absolutely. I would say your energy signature is analogous to your higher self. It is who you are beyond your dress, beyond your hair, beyond where you live, your street address. It is beyond your profession here in the world. Like, I'm a professional, whatever. I'm applesauce maker, my applesauce analogy from earlier. Beyond all of those things of what you are, it is the true nature of who and what you are. And your energy signature also includes things such as the type of artistry that you do, your levels and type of humor. So like there's different types of humor. My humor is very deadpan, and I'm often the straight man in any kind of humorous situation where something is funny because I am taking it seriously, but it is not a serious situation. This is different than physical comedy or slapstick humor, and this is different than pranks. Got it? Like, my humor is funny because I'm serious, but you can tell my face is being silly, but I'm serious. But that's different than other people that are more, let's say, pranky, trickstery, where they're like, I know I'm doing something a little naughty. My dog has an energy signature of pranky tricksterness. Do you know it? Like, she steals people's balled up socks, and then she runs around with them, and she kind of taunts you and says like, I got your socks, like I stole it. She knows she's doing something naughty, and she's kind of like playing in that way, playfulness, tricksterness, but that is not me. That is not part of my energy signature. And I'm also in my energy signature, like fiercely protective. I'm both nourishing and protective, like very parental, and also very creative and very artistic. So the art, the music, the things that I do with these sensory organs here, I do, would do, will do, shall do, am engaged in doing on other greater, grander scales and other tiny microcosmic scales. And that's just a basic being of who I am. So you guys, when you get it, you will totally get it. So this is also big. I've spent a lot of time here with flapping of moving mouth parts, describing something that is a sensory immersive experience. When you actually go to France. Like I've been describing the landscape of France. I've been describing the cuisine. I've been describing the Eiffel Tower. When you actually go there and you eat a chocolate croissant in front of the Eiffel Tower, you'll be like, this is exactly what Aurora was describing to me with all of those words. But what you will be doing is having the immersive experience, and it will be incontrovertible to you. There will be no questioning in your mind, no cognitive dissonance, no wonderment at all. It will just simply be the basic mathematical truth of all these things that I paint. It's inevitable, and I know that you will be there. That's actually a really good thing for me to wrap up on, because I think I got almost everything. You know, I send out my notes now to the class as part of the Zoom invite. I also put my notes up on Patreon. I think that that's really effective because I take the notes directly from the recorded lessons. I also re-encourage, but not like as a mean teacher, because that's another part of my energy signature. Like I'm a nurturing, encouraging teacher, not like a very mean teacher. I can't even make a mean face, but a very mean teacher that is gonna hurt you if you don't, I'm going to smite you if you don't do your homework. I'm not that type of a teacher at all. So I got to how to FRL with the sun. And then the very last thing was, as an aside for today's topical relevancy, matter is responsive to consciousness. This is the basic precept of Flying Rainbow Lasagna that I have been embodying myself and teaching to others over 20 years. This is a major aspect of planetary ascension. So the body, matter of my body responds to my consciousness. I've done an amazing amount of healing of my body and my neurology and personal uplift, change, and transformation based on the cellular structure and its potential based upon that concept. Matter responds to consciousness. And I've also taught to you about mind-created realms and the sense of us in planetary ascension moving beyond objective materialism and beyond materialism itself. Materialism has as its basis the sense that there's a limited amount of human, commodificational objects. There's only a certain number of whatever it is, you know, potatoes or toothpicks or whatever you make and sell, and then that gives its value. But if you're creating potatoes or toothpicks or bars of gold or houseplants with your mind, then you literally have an infinite amount of anything that you need. But does that then mean that I should create an infinite amount of toothpicks with my mind, then sell each one for 5 cents, and then that's how I'm going to be a millionaire? No, it does not. So we need to get out of that commodification mode, which is why humanity does not yet have full access to these materialist manifestation powers, because I call it the dollar store mentality. So the dollar store is like plastic. Plastic is an amazing substance. I can make anything out of plastic. So it's cheap, it's durable, I can make stuff out of it. So how about I make an infinite amount of junk, and then I'll put it in the dollar store and I'll sell everything for $1. And then you'll buy a lot of plastic junk for $1, and then I'll be a millionaire. But the question is, does the world need those things? Does the world need this stuff that is made, or is it merely being made for the sake of making stuff so that someone can be enriched? And the real question is, are you following your GPS, divine guidance that should be telling you what stuff to make? When you're an artist, creator, musician, an entrepreneur, or even you might not identify with any of those labels, the person who is following their divine mandates inside, you make the stuff that needs to be made because actually someone out there needs it. If you're like, I have to knit this rainbow sweater, it's probably because someone out there needs a rainbow sweater. And that someone might be me. Like, this has happened. I've purchased things when they're like, yep, I just had to make this rainbow sweater. And I'm like, well, I wear nothing but rainbow. You clearly made it for me. Following those inner mandates means that you're making something that is needed by someone in the world. And that is a big part of reciprocal economy. That is a big part of the love tone. That is a big part of being not just in your own context, but swimming around within a sea of events in time. And this is also part of a much larger time structure economy, currency of love economy, currency of being embodied and having experiences. Currency does not necessarily mean commodification. Your experience of being embodied is incredibly valuable and priceless and precious to transmit to the sun. That the sun wants to know what it feels like for you to be here having this experience, and that you should be doing the exact things that you should be doing with your body while you're here not being like, well, I don't really want to do this over here, and the sun doesn't really want me to do this, but some guy will pay me $5 to do this, so I better do this thing over here. All of that is a subversion of what we are truly meant to be and what we are truly embodied for, and the aspects of why we are given these lives as gifts, why we are given life as a gift, why we are given material objectivity as a gift. I got through almost all of my notes, so I'll say reality artistry in partnership with higher dimensional energies and awareness. I'll repeat it because it's so deep. Reality artistry in partnership with higher dimensional energies and awareness. You, as you are in your, I call it the co-creative process, we're not just making with your own personal paintbrush of your mind, but you are definitely painting with a larger artist, with a larger band, playing with a larger band, and within the context of a larger ongoing multisensory art project. So I now want to open the floor to any questions, comments, or anything that is relevant that people want to have as part of the recording to share with others. And then there will also be time for you to share if you want to share just personally without saying anything to anyone else. Rainbow Body, you had a beautiful comment before. I don't know if you're still tuned in, saying photovoltaic cells. Yes, that is how light energy is transmitted into currency in our present level of engineering. Solar panels, photovoltaic cells. Our body is photovoltaic. Haven't noticed humans tend to create things that are just like what our body does. So we created computers. Here's my computer. It's my externalized brain. And here's my photovoltaic cells. They are an externalized aspect of something that we contain internally. And Trisha says, because we are made of salts. Yeah, that is back to the Ormus, which is a salt supplement that helps to reawaken your pineal gland. Salt is incredibly important in your body in terms of a neurotransmitter. And she says there are about 13 types of salt where they use, and I guess still heal with salts. I'll read to you. This is really fascinating stuff. This has Dead Sea salt, Himalayan salt or Himalayan salt, Celtic, French gray, Korean, Redmond real, Hawaiian, and salt that is made from Dead Sea dew, and bamboo salt. And bamboo salt, that was that thing of putting it inside of bamboo and the whole entire process of heating it. Yes, all of these different types of salt, and salt comes from the ocean, and the ocean is our planet's lifeblood, like salinity and the clear fluid that is inside of your blood. All of it is related. Do you understand? Like all of this is profoundly related. Our planetary structure, and what is here is a miracle. Just going down, because it's hard for me to talk and scroll at the same time. Aaron has a question. It says, since matter responds to consciousness, to what extent do you see our directed thoughts towards an object influencing it compared to the existing collective consensus thoughts, belief structure about that object? Another beautiful question. I applaud your very focused questions. Consensus has a lot to do with reality, and you have to have a lot of power to override consensus reality. If 10 million people think of the wall and believe in the wall that is behind my shoulder, then the wall is the wall. This is big, because it'd be like, Aurora, like, how come we don't just, I want to imagine that the street in front of my house is gone, the garbage trucks and, parking signs are gone, and instead there's whatever, a river or whatever. We can make it even like a fantasy. We can make it like a river, chocolate milk, something weird, like Willy Wonka, or some fantastical creation. It could be something that is either based in physical reality or something that's purely fantastic. What is the limiting factor here? And the limiting factor is many minds that join together in a net or network, envisioning a reality, give a solidity and a structure to that reality. So there is the convenience of believing in money and the money system and finances. And then there are also the many hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of people that believe in and use the money system and lend their belief to upholding that fictional reality as a true construct, as a true reality. So money is a really good example of something that does not have a truthfulness basis, and yet many, many people believe in it, and it directs their life and behavior in many, many ways, and becomes a real thing, a real thought, a realized thought form due to the presence and activity of so many participants. And I wanted to go in so many different directions in terms of, one is a song that I wrote many years ago called Believing in Imaginary Numbers. That was when I first got here. I was actually amazed by how much these imaginary numbers are something that directs human consciousness, and imaginary numbers relates to numbers that are not whole numbers, but something like the square root of 1 or the square root of 2, that there are mathematical impossibilities, but also in terms of the stock market, or more recently cryptocurrency, these are imaginary numbers, but they're absolutely substrates of physical experienced reality because they help to put food on the table, which is the analogy that most people use as to whether it is embodied into an experienced level. So yes, the shift in the giant ship of awareness known as the human ecosystem within the larger planetary ecosystem has been slow because, let's say, in your own body, you can instantaneously quantum shift, and you can, and I have, and you can go from having like a disease or an illness or something that is an incapacitation to being healed and capacitated this quickly. It is about your own personal journey and your own individual self, the boundaries within your epidermis. When it is something that touches on other people's lives, then you end up having a committee decision. But of course, not every voice is equally as loud within the chorus of minds, within the belief system. Some people are strong, profound believers, and some people are so strong and profound in their belief that they are able to transcend the larger narrative structure of reality, what is possible and what is not possible. So people do this all the time. Sometimes they're called charismas of saints, like people who have a very profound faith. I'm thinking now of Therese von Neumann, who lived in Bavaria in the 1940s and was said to eat nothing but pure light for the last 25 years of her life. She was a nun and she lived mostly in retreat, but she was observed not eating and still being sustained and be very healthy. But she was a profound believing Catholic, and she ate nothing but one Eucharist a day. And she put so much belief into that one tiny cracker that might be 10 calories worth of energy that it was able to sustain her entire body presence. So this is a really good example of a human being who is able to transform their body and its functionality away from being a steam engine. You're not running on 10 calories a day. You are running on the profound, magnificent level of belief. Thought energy is energy, and that is what really runs your coherent light body. Someone's talking back there. It's my dog. If you hear someone talking, probably a package is being delivered. Apologies. Cheeky has a lot to say. Soon we will WALK, but not yet. Hold on a second. So this saint, mystic, or nun, however you would like to describe this very spiritual person, very, very focused on her devotion to Christ, Christ energy, and the story of Christ. And that power of belief is literally what sustained her in her body, right? There were people that actually did come and photograph her and kind of like follow her around because they were objective materialists. And they were like, I am skeptical. I'm a part of this other reality thought structure. And they weren't able, though, to stop her in her own body being from living her truth. So now we're getting into basic questions that you learn when you walk on the ground. The questions of self-responsibility versus responsibility to the group or to the community within which you live. And you get to have personal boundaries. You're in a choir, you're singing, everyone can hear you, you can hear everyone else. And also you can sing your own song, and you are responsible to yourself, and you can do what you wish to do with your own body structure. So if you want to say, I want to heal my body of whatever, disease prognosis, we'll use cancer as an example. Sometimes people get a diagnosis and like 10 million doctors agree, like you're going to die. But you say, no, I refuse to die in my body. I'm going to do this or that instead. And you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to define your own boundaries within the context of community and say what you want and what you don't want as the story of your life or how your body itself works and functions. That's a little bit different than when we get to the sense of like creating stuff with your mind. Because what if you're like, I'm a selfish person and I want to create bars of gold or, gems to sell. And I'm going to create this many bars of gold with my mind. And I'm going to walk around like with a monocle and a cigar and a top hat. And I will be the Monopoly man and I will be the rich person. Because this is where a lot of people are coming from, this diminishment sense and the sense of lack, that they want to do that. That's just like saying, if I can create with my mind, how about I create like people do with the plastic in the dollar store? I'll create 10 million widgets. And then we're going to sell every widget for $1, and then I'll have $10 million, and then I'm going to be rich. You have to get out of that commodification mode before we as a human collective fully access and embody and put into practice this sense of materiality manifestation and endless abundance. We have to treat what we create with our mind respectfully. We have to treat matter respectfully and recognize that matter is an externalization of the internal self state. The body is an externalization of the internal self state. This is what these saints and charismatic mystics do. P.S. I know of other teachers from the Far East who would do things like performing impossibilities or miracles or manifestation events of either sacred ashes or gems or other impossibilities. Those are stories that were told as spiritual upliftment guides along the way. And then we in this class have shared many experiences of personal experiences of manifesting tiny screws, wheelbarrows, cups, or even pounds of coffee. And that's because we are now in this supernatural mode in this world. So it used to be only in certain places, only at the right time, only if the stars are aligned with Venus and the moon is in the 7th house. Then Jupiter will, do what it needs to do. And then we will be able to manifest. Those were the lyrics from Age of Aquarius. Yes. I'm going to break it out into song. Watch out, guys. But now we can do this without necessarily being in a special sacred power place or, holding a power object or a magic wand or any accoutrements. Basically, we create and embody the magic or the miracle or the supernatural self state in wherever you are. Wherever you are becomes the magical place to be, even though there are technological inhibitors that are quite troubling to me. So I do find it easier to be magical and free and supernatural in some places as opposed to in other places. But I'm telling you that you can overcome any of these limitations and inhibitions in order to be magical or tap into the miraculous or tap into the divine truthfulness of God, no matter where you are, even if you're in some kind of a completely technological matrix world, even if you're inside of the Borg. Even in the Borg, guys, you can tap into God's presence and the miraculous nature of consciousness and true reality. So please keep that in mind. I want to return and go back to your question to make sure that I actually answered it. So you as an individual thinking thoughts about an object, if you were not in conjunction with the rest of society, would be incredibly empowered. Like if no one else knew about it and I was just thinking about this crystal amethyst, I would be able to probably do things with it that would be probably impossible. There's no observership from other people, and I have a strong sense of capacitation in what I believe and what I, can do in the world. The diminishment might happen if you're like, oh, I gotta take a picture of this and post it on YouTube or put it on my Facebook or my Instagram. Like, I just did this miracle. I gotta Instagram it. The activity, the thought, the motivation, all of that kind of makes the magic melt away. That there's some things that are private. That's why you can tell I'm careful with my language when I talk about people's dreams, things that they've shared with me, or their own supernatural experiences or things that they've witnessed. I am very, very careful not to dilute or dissipate their magic, because when you share it with non-believers, the beings that are in the objective, materialist, limited cognitive viewpoint, they tend to dissipate the magic and disbelieve it and believe it out of existence. And it used to be that that was a much stronger self-state than the supernatural, miraculous, magical self-state. Then now it is different. Now the supernatural is definitely starting to supersede, because what happens is the more that you have supernatural, inexplicable experiences, read here, Flying Rainbow Lasagna, the more that you believe that it becomes possible. So in my own life, I have a lot of ability in that level because I've experienced a lot, and I've experienced a lot because I've generated it, experienced it, and then done it again and again. And then I'm like, well, that happened and that happened. And I kept on believing, and then that happened and that happened. And then at a certain point, there's solid ground. You're not like, wow, like I'm not kind of like putting my foot down gently, put my other foot down gently. Like, is this going to keep going? Is this going to keep going? Like, yes, it's going to keep going, because that is the way that it works. You begin to become strengthened in your own belief, and then you know that it will work, and you know that you will go in that level of reality. So what's happening now is really a branching of realities, where those who are involved in a certain level of perception and belief and expectation and activity are staying in a more limited reality that is called objective materialism, and those others are willing to learn, grow, transition, transfer. And then there are some that are way up here, out there, all around, that are like, oh yeah, I do the supernatural all the time. I did this, this hopped in and out of reality. My reading glasses were there, then they weren't there, then they were there again. That shifted reality. I shift reality every time, every minute since breakfast. Like, that is just a normal self state for some people. And guess what? It takes, you have to be quite adept to be able to do that. So, you know, like sometimes you have a special thing that happens. You might not want to share it with a lot of people, especially people who are gonna, you know, bring it down and disbelieve you and try to dissipate the energy. But when you're actually in it, when you're experiencing it, it becomes an effortless flow, a la the improvisational genius of someone like Jimi Hendrix. You know, he was just like, he was always playing. He was always playing. Like, this is just normal for him. He's just doing it. He's just playing. When we are in those, it's a flow state. It's a state of divine alignment. It is a state of, you could call it grace or graciousness or frictionless movement through time. These things are just happening, and they're just happening as a matter of course, and they're embodied, and you just kind of internalize them and continue onward with all the things. They're never taken for granted. They do become normalized. It's not necessarily something that through ego, one feels the need to be like, I have to Instagram that miracle. Like, that's a miracle. Time for me to Instagram it. Although it is really important to share profound truths and things that are uplifting with others. Like, if you healed yourself of a disease and you're able to inspire other patients, I absolutely encourage you to do it. But this is different than the type of demonstrative egotism. And there are many stories, cautionary tales of from the Far East, of monks who were developing charismas or CDs, these various different types of abilities that come with self-cultivation and the cultivation of the chakras, and how, like, you know, they were getting to these advanced levels. And the guy who almost reached enlightenment, but then he had to be like, hey, like, let me show someone else this miracle. And then he got crashed back down. Like, that's an hyperbolic exaggeration. This will not happen to you. But there are many cautionary tales that go through the spiritual community of that place of people that are cultivating themselves merely for the teaching, just like Hansel and Gretel, merely for the teaching. Hansel and Gretel teaches you don't trust strangers. And these stories of yogis and masters who fell by the wayside due to egotism give us the cautionary tale of stay focused on the journey, stay focused on the goal. The end result goal is the abstraction of pure freedom. Being able to be exactly who and what you truly are, and to be in alignment with pure consciousness, and to be free and supported and nourished and protected in that self state. So all of these other things are seen as ways of getting to what you really want to get to. Like, I want to get bars of gold so that I can be free, so that I can be free to go anywhere I want to go. And I want to be able to fly so that I can be free and get to where I want to go. And I want to be able to magically, you know, do this or that because I want to be free, because I want to get to where I want to go. So all of these things are the things that we think that we need along the journey. Please do not get stuck in the form. Please stay focused on the goal of pure freedom and pure love, and being in pure harmonic communion, communication, community with pure light. And that is what it is like when you are a pure light being in the sun and living as a part of the stars and the whole symphony of life. That it is really, there's much less pressure to be like, I got to make stuff and I got to manifest this and I got to manifest that, even while I'm telling you that everything that we have and everything that we experience is a manifestation that comes from the sun. Get it? Like, we are getting to, you get to be the sun, spoiler alert, and you will be making reality, and you will be generating all sorts of events and matter and possibilities and probabilities. And it does not necessarily come from the motivation of like having to convince someone that you're great, or having to get something to commodify, or having to fill yourself up in some way. It's different levels of motivation. And I'm not down on you or critical of you in any way, because we are children of light, and that is the world that we are coming out of. We're coming out of that world of need and necessity and moving into a world of freedom and really pure self-expression and pure artistry. And the flying rainbow lasagna in its truest sense is an expression of pure self-expression and pure artistry. So Aaron, I hope that spoke to what you were wondering about. Very good. Thank you. Thank you again for you and everyone. Thank you specifically for your thoughts and your sharing and your questions. And thank you to everyone who comes up with their thoughts and their sharing and your questions and interactions, because we are musicians. We are harmonically joining our minds together. This is not, I'm not in a contextless void. I am here with you. I appreciate your questions, wonderment, and the activities of your mind, even when it's unspoken, because I'm telling you, I can hear you when you make that skeptical posture. Not you, Aaron. I can hear all of you. Like, people go skeptical, and I'm like, okay, like I have to explain this more, because that's all part of it. So I would love to open the floor to any more questions or comments. If not, I will end the recording, and we might have a brief hangout, because you know we like to chat and talk with each other a little bit afterwards, which is also a big part. It's part of community building. Anyone else would like to speak or share? Or if you have things about miracles that you've experienced, you might want to share it privately. But it's also why I don't say, so-and-so, like John Smith told me all about the miracle that he experienced, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that, because it's a private, intimate thing that is kind of like, you know, the specialness between lovers. So I will end the recording. I will say profound thanks and profound gratitude to everybody who is in my class, people who have been in my class from previous semesters too, and to people who are going to catch the archive, because I know not all students are able to tune in at this exact time rate. But thank you so much for being in the class, and for your thoughts and your participation, and for your willingness to connect with me telepathically, and to ingest this light, and to take these messages of pure light that come from the sun. Thank you very much, everyone.